Here's done.
Suckers!
Good evening, brothers and sisters of the Leap, and welcome everyone to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club's 9th annual Spooktastic Drinking Some More Boorific Drunkathon Spectacular, and all that implies. Tonight, the boys discuss the suspenseful 2019 Norwegian horror film Tailgate, while smoking the Bricktoberfest cigar from J.C. Newman, paired with a truly terrifying amount of Oktoberfest beers. It sounds like we're in store for one hell of a good time, boys and ghouls. So sit back, light 'em up, try not to shit your pants, and enjoy the show.
All right, numbnuts, you ready?
Yeah, let's hit it.
I'm ready. Let's do this thing. Let's
All
do
right.
it.
Let me, wouldn't be the same if I didn't
Podcasting keeps.
start things off with a little bit of my podcasting juice. Malty. All right. Welcome, everybody, to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club, episode 163.
Whoop, 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 whoop.
You want me to blow your minds, boys?
Do it.
Maybe.
Tonight is our 9th annual Spooktastic Drinking Some More Boorific Drunkathon Bonanza Spectacular. 9th.
All I gotta say
9.
is our one through 8 must have been fucking spectacular because I don't remember any of them.
I think there was some clowns at one point.
I think I did Shinerbach like 3 years in a row, and I was like, I've got this new beer Shinerbach that I'm going to try too. Then I watched the previous year where I just got drunk and I'm like,
Just obliterated that memory. And then I was like, Oktoberfest, Shiner, it's brand new. Who knew?
We actually, this is back when we were all together. We actually featured the Shiner Oktoberfest beer, I believe, 3 times without having any knowledge. Every time we've treated it like it was the first time. And then I think Yax finally looked it up on accident one day on our website, and he's like, oh, shit. Like,
but the good thing is at least we were consistent. We were consistent with how we described it.
no, we were all over the place.
No.
This is
the best beer ever. The next year's like, I hated it.
This is the sweetest beer next year. This is the sourest beer I've just. No, we've certainly gotten our act together over the years. But yeah, 9 years we've been 9 years we've been gathering together to celebrate the Halloween Boorific season, if you will.
As soon as this heat breaks, it's my favorite time of the year.
It's
without a doubt my favorite time of the year.
Yeah, it was still 100 today here in Central Texas, so it's kind of hard to get in the fall season.
That's why I'm loving this warm, chewy beer that we're.
Nothing warms you up like a nice seasonal Oktoberfest beer.
Hot sausage.
Good Marzon.
It's got notes of hot dogs and sweat. Well, anywho, it's been a little while since we've gathered. What you boys been up to? Anything special?
Oh man, school started, so I got that going for me. I'm up to my eyeballs in linear algebra and programming, but it's.
Hey, speaking of up to your eyeballs, you've got the seasonal Tuttle mustache starting to make an appearance there.
Yes, I haven't decided what I'm going to be for Halloween, so one of the options, this man right in behind me, exactly.
For those of you listening on iTunes or the other podcast forums, he's got a nice display of I believe Ron Swanson. Is that the guy's name?
Swanson's pyramid of greatness.
Okay.
And so I was like, all right, if I'm gonna be one of these mustache people, I need to start growing it now. So
okay,
we're gonna hit it.
Keep us posted.
Oh, when it comes into full effect, it'll keep you posted. It texts on its own. I mean,
I've seen it. It's
has its own browser history, and it's
um,
not pretty.
I don't want to know that thing's browser
No,
history.
you don't.
All right. Well, you were going to school and worrying about your mustache. I am kind of proud of myself. Since our last gathering, have seen Oppenheimer 7 times.
What?
I'm enthralled by it. Anybody who says
Wait, are you shitting me?
no, and I'm saying this. Anybody who says creativity in Hollywood is dead, and that there are no more original stories cooking up out there in screenwriters' heads, you're dead wrong. I've always thought Christopher Nolan was highly overrated as a filmmaker. His Dark Knight trilogy didn't. His Batman stuff never really did much for me. But his imagination has cooked up something with Oppenheimer. It is just a truly chilling. We're talking about spooky movies this season. It is a truly chilling horror movie. Bravo. I mean, it was amazing.
Kate?
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan didn't make that up. Oppenheimer's a real person. It's a historical movie. Everything that happened in the movie actually happened in real life.
It's history.
Seems like that's something that would have made the news. I mean,
it did, like, a lot. In fact, it is still making the news. Like,
all right,
it's kind of like the foundation of modern society, dude.
Right. Look, to be honest and transparent, I never saw Oppenheimer. I just wanted to look smart in front of you guys. Truth be told, I was gonna go see it. I really was.
Did you go see Barbie instead?
Well, I did, and
I knew it.
I actually just ended up watching Maneater, starring country western music superstar Trace Atkins, another 7 times. Which brings my total of seeing Maneater, starring country western music superstar Trace Atkins, to I think I've seen it at least 12 times.
Why do I think that's plausible? Why do I believe that?
I believe it far more than Oppenheimer 7 times.
Yeah, let's not be silly. I'm not going to sit there through that thing.
So you don't want to borrow my book, American Prometheus, the biography of Oppenheimer the movie is based on?
I'm actually a history buff and I'm interested in it, but I'm not interested in seeing the film. Is that bad?
I have seen the film.
Yes, it is bad.
Is it good? I mean,
it's a good film.
I don't know. It just seemed like it just seemed too artsy, and when it comes to history stuff, sometimes I don't want the artsy stuff.
Well, there's certainly something out there for everybody, and very rarely does a piece of cinema come around that everyone can agree the world's better off for having it, with the obvious exception of Maneater, starring country western music superstar Trace Atkins.
I liked Maneater.
I was about to say, I think our world has been blessed by Maneater being in it.
Yeah. You guys read any good emails lately?
Read any good emails, you some bitch?
I have not. You see, about a month ago, I took a sip of my morning coffee and opened up my TNCC email account, and only to watch 8 years worth of emails, literally as I was watching my screen, just disappear until there was nothing in there.
That makes no sense.
Poof, gone forever. I don't want to get into details there, but basically 9 years worth of everything Tuesday Night Cigar related was just gone. Which shouldn't, it's a crippling loss in a lot of ways, but it shouldn't affect what we do here on the show, except for the fact that whenever I would come across any interesting news articles or anything online really that I thought was worthy of us talking about on the show, I would copy that link and send it to that email address to keep track of them. So tons of show ideas vanished along with my milfbeavers.com login and password information. Important personal data. The details about I'm in a church bake sale coming up, that kind of stuff. So anyway, moving on. Normally, where we'd open tonight's show with an opening conversation about some of these said topical events, I've now only got my shitty ass memory. I'm scraping like, all right, what did I send? I'm trying to remember these things that I sent to myself without any kind of paper trail or any kind of actual link to what they were. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to mention the subject of a news article that I remember sending to myself. And I have nothing else but that to go on, and we'll just take it from there. Maybe you guys read the news. Maybe you guys, you're worldly fellows, maybe you can fill in some of the gaps. You want to give it a try?
Yeah, go ahead.
Yes, please.
All right.
I am wordly. Wordly?
Okay. Here's the first one I remembered, and I was really looking forward to talking to you guys about. So in Iceland, or maybe it was Greenland, climate researchers, or maybe some fishermen, discovered an enormous iceberg that was shaped like a dildo. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
You saw it?
Yeah.
It was literally this huge iceberg with this giant shaft and had these two big ice balls.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay.
it was less a dildo and actually just a real cock. I mean, it had a ball bag on it.
All right. Well, this is good that Ted heard of it, because it's like if I couldn't track that down, then it's like, did I make that up? Like, okay. Well, that's an interesting thing we could have talked about. The other one, there was a study somewhere by someone that showed, if I remember right, the majority of American men are growers, not showers, if you know what I mean.
I didn't see that one.
Down there.
I didn't see that one.
See that.
Lots of bird nests with tiny little eggs, if you know what I mean. Which, the good news, that means you three are actually far more average than I thought you were. So you guys have that going for you.
I'm not following at all.
Did you guys read that study survey thingy?
No.
Yeah. Okay. A chick got busted. This is another thing I remembered. A chick got busted in some city in Mississippi, probably, maybe West Virginia, for having sex with her dog. Did you read about that?
What kind of news are you reading?
What? Yeah.
Normal news.
Normal news?
But the reason I thought it was a funny article was because when I was reading it, she mentioned she claimed that it was her service dog.
Oh.
And I was like, I don't think that means what she thinks it means. It's rough crowd.
Yeah.
Get it? Rough crowd.
Oh, even worse.
Yeah, there's another one about a dude in England who got caught doing his neighbor's cow, but you see, I can't look up. I see.
I'm a doctor.
See, I can't. The thing is, I can't Google these to look them up, or else I'm going to be on some kind of watch list. So I just had to kind of.
Apparently, I think you were already on a watch list. That's why they deleted all the emails.
All right. Well,
Look at this cornucopia of filth.
Hey,
get rid of it.
Finally, this week, an article popped up. I actually had the article, and I was like, okay, I got my facts straight on this one. And it's crazier than any the ice dildo or the dude with the cow. This is actually crazier in my mind than all of these. Doctor, I'm especially interested to get your take on this one. Football season is in full swing, as everyone knows, thank God. And the Michigan State Spartans are without their head coach, who got fired for allegedly sexually harassing the woman who was brought on campus to teach student athletes about sexual harassment.
Dude, that's what happened to that guy?
Yes.
Yeah, this is actually true. She was like a Title IX coordinator and a sexual assault survivor, I believe. And he was accused by her of improper behavior.
Yeah,
did he do it?
Some dick pics, and apparently he called her up on the phone and was whacking off while he was talking to her. Now here's the thing though. He didn't deny it. he said, yeah, I was jerking off with her on the phone, but it was consensual. We were in a consensual relationship.
What the fuck?
And-
Dude, and I like
and-
that. I like that guy, man. He had a great look. He had a great voice. He had a great. I was like, ugh.
You know what else he had? $75 million contract.
Yeah, you haven't heard the last of this.
Ad.
Nah, you haven't heard the last of this one. He's
fighting it.
This is true all the way. Yeah, to Cade's point, he actually said that he masturbated while on the phone with her, but they were having consensual phone sex. She's of course denying that, but they moved so quickly to fire him.
Yeah.
And of course, Michigan State, that was where that Larry Nasser that was the guy that is going to prison for molesting all those gymnasts.
You almost have to, man. Yeah,
They moved. Well, you can't deny a person due process. So
it's true, but at the same time, if you can't deny him due process, but what happens if he actually did it? There was some infraction, and he does it again to somebody else, and it's proven that it wasn't consensual. Next thing you know, anybody he has relations with, consensual relations allegedly, starts lawsuiting the Michigan State. I mean, they got to protect them stuff too. That's what happened with Chris Beard in Texas, man. His girlfriend said, "Yeah, assault, called the cops," and then later the girlfriend's like, "No, it was mutual," and it was too late. Now he's at Mississippi State.
the other thing Cade pointed out, and just for everyone listening, was not an exaggeration, is the amount of money that they gave this guy about 2 years ago that he still owed. I think Cade said 75 million. It was like a $90 million, like 11-year contract or something like that.
Yeah.
So
It's good to be that guy.
Not defending him. He's claiming innocence without knowing either of them. I call bullshit on him. I'm thinking he probably is guilty, but it's his word against hers. And they're trying to, Michigan State obviously is trying to fire him without paying him that, saying that he embarrassed the institution and they can go ahead and fire him. I think we're firing him with cause. He's going to obviously file a lawsuit. You haven't heard the last of this one by a long shot.
Yeah, and I'm just confused at it too, because I mean, anybody with half a brain cell, you don't send a dick pic to a Title IX.
Well, no, I there were some inappropriate things. I don't know for sure dick pic, and like I said, this is all allegedly. But the fact that this chick had spoken to his team, I believe, about sexual harassment, and then allegedly later that night he gave her a call and tugged one off on the phone with her.
There's got to be more to this.
I don't know if she actually spoke to the team about it, but she was somebody that worked in the Title IX department and was supposedly had personal experience with sexual harassment.
I mean,
it's really bad. It's really
again,
bad.
How can you be that just stupid?
Well, you know what? I'm starting to think maybe it was a good thing that my emails did disappear. Maybe I'm in some kind of trouble here after.
I mean, your news sources are very suspect.
No, they were all legitimate news sources.
No.
Weekly World News,
close the UK Daily Mail, but
the Inquirer.
I don't
believe not even the Inquirer level.
I don't believe he actually sent her a dick pic. I think he just sent her that headline about the cock-shaped iceberg in Iceland, and that's what got him in all kinds of trouble. So, yeah, you might be onto something there.
Well, maybe next time I'll have my act together. I can put together a proper opening monologue. Jeez. But in the meantime,
get it together.
In the meantime, we have a show to do, and why don't we start things off? Our big Oktoberfest episode with an Oktoberfest cigar.
Oh yeah!
As you folks at home know, we like to pair a fine premium cigar like the one in my hand. Look at that beautifully pigtail cap on there. We like to pair a premium cigar with a delicious adult beverage, and then we talk a little bit about the two of them, and then we try to tie them together with a movie. It is Oktoberfest. I couldn't find a German horror film but I did manage to find one from the Netherlands, which Yaks, I believe that shares a border with Germany, right?
Close, yes.
Yeah, close enough.
Right there. It's right there.
Close enough. Close enough. Let me just see if I can rip this cap off without cutting. I've said it before. I love a well-constructed pigtail cap where you can just gently tear that off, and it gives you just. See, I just twisted it off, and look at that little opening there. That might just do it. If not, we can always give it a little snip later. Tonight's cigar is the Brick House Bricktoberfest 2023 by J.C. Newman Cigar Company. It is a 6x52 Toro. Wrapper is Ecuadorian Habano Rosado. Binder and fillers are both Nicaraguan. I will save price point for last. I'll give you just a little background. In a press release announcing this year's Bricktoberfest offering, Eric Newman, the youngest of the Newmans, who's bringing the company in hot, as Tut likes to say, coming in hot to a younger generation. He said this: my grandfather, J.C. Newman, was born in the only house made out of brick in a small village in Austria-Hungary. He lived with his family on the second floor, while the first floor was the local tavern and general store. The Brick House cigar label depicts his family home. Huh. My ancestors gathered in the original brick house to relax and celebrate with beer and cigars 150 years ago. And Bricktoberfest is the perfect way to celebrate the season with beer and brick house cigars today. So it's kind of a cool background. Although it's kind of braggy, isn't it? My family was the only one to have a brick house. No, I'm just teasing. They're nice people. And they're our one last remaining sponsor, so I probably shouldn't. Oh, wait, just got a text. They're gone too. Okay. No, I'm just teasing. Last year's release was a Nicaraguan Puro, so it's refreshing to see a manufacturer shake things up a bit. Todd, if you missed it, this year's wrapper is an Ecuadorian Habano Rosado. It's a very pretty reddish shade of brown.
Yep.
So tonight we shall be respecting the blender's wishes and pairing the Brick House Bricktoberfest 2023 with a Marzen style beer in the spirit of Oktoberfest.
October.
Guten Tag.
Goobertog.
Goobertog. Oktoberfest. How do you guys say this stuff? You know, I'm going to go watch Oppenheimer again.
Oppenheimer.
Is it Oppenheimer? No.
Or you at Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Open.
Yeah, Oppenheimer.
Cold Draw's got a little sweetness, very earthy.
There was a definite sweetness. I already lit up, but I noticed that just on the Cold Draw, just the aroma of the wrapper, very sweet, had a really sort of not barnyard, but it wasn't, I won't call it hay, but it was slightly between.
Yeah, no, there's some
kind of like a grass, but it was more like, walking in through like an actual barnyard.
Yeah, no, there's some manure on there, some barnyard stuff, little earth, some sweetness, or a lot.
Yeah, I'm getting a little bit of hay across the palate on that. Some pepper, not that earthy pepper, but not like a black pepper, but just kind of like a nice little white pepper.
Doctor always chuckles whenever I compliment a cigar by saying it smells like horseshit.
It's just so matter of factly. You threw in the technical term manure, which I appreciate.
I think it's Manere.
Manure.
Oh boy, this smells good.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. It's weird. A very tiny part of our cigar scoring, I'm talking decimal points away, score is for aroma. And very rarely is as much as cigars smell do I actually notice like the actual aroma pouring off a cigar. Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah, that's one of the most beautiful things about cigars, though, is that aroma. I mean, not only if you're, partaking it, the actual flavor is the best part. But like, I love being in a cigar shop and somebody else lights up something that might be a little bit outside my wheelhouse, but smells beautifully, and it just, I love that sensation. Like, dude, what the hell are you smoking over there? We were we were fishing one time, and a guy, one of the fishermen, had this cigar lit up, and I was like, God damn, that smells good. Come to find out, Honduras cigar, one of the Oscars, and I was
Mhm.
just like, man, that's good.
Uh,
That was my story.
that was a good story. I don't believe it, but you tried. Um, medium pepper through the nose. I mean, there's a
Yeah.
little sting there, first couple puffs, but it quickly is dialed down. It's not the retro hail's fairly mild to medium. It's not very.
No, it's not. It's not hard at all. I'd put it on the mild side.
I was
Not
going to say,
medium.
I didn't get, even on the first part, I didn't get any pepper. And it's like you just said, there's a little bit there in the retro hell, but that's about it.
Um, and then on the draw, boy, I'm really just kind of getting a leathery, uh, some little medium leather and some earth,
I'm actually
a little bit of earth.
sorry. Yeah, I'm getting little remnants of yak's hay on the palate, just right across the top of the tongue. It's nice.
Are you guys finding that, as JC Newman recommended us to drink, that your Oktoberfest beers are pairing well with it?
Can I make a confession?
Yes.
I'm not having an Oktoberfest beer right now.
I know you want to be, you got to be fancy and just drink.
No, no, I'm not. I'm not drinking that.
Oh,
Yeah, I've got that later because it's a beautiful beer and I can't wait to get back to it.
yeah.
But right now I am drinking the Land Shark Lager uh, from Margaritaville Brewing.
That that's not really beer.
Why are you drinking that?
Because a while ago we had Master Jimmy Buffett pass away, and I didn't want to do a full boot because I don't know whether you guys like him or not, and I didn't want to be like, "Oh, we need to do Jimmy Buffett and boot him." Uh,
Hey,
but he's very significant to me, so I wanted to start the show off with a little land shark. And truth be known, I don't like this beer. It kind of smells like ass. But I'm going to do it justice.
I'm sure Jimmy's looking down from the heavens and
Jimmy knows. I guarantee you he knows. He was like, that was my accountant's idea. It made me a shit ton of money, so drink up, motherfucker.
are you gonna chug a boot for Jimmy Buffett?
Is it a boot? It is a boot.
What?
I really hadn't planned on doing that, but I did bring the boot. But yeah.
Wow, you really like Jimmy Buffett.
Jimmy was like one of the most influential musicians and artists on me, simply because, and it's not necessarily his music, but just his joie de vivre. I mean, his raison d'être, as our man Jonathan Drew would say. He had a really cool life, man, because like I don't know how much of the story that you know, but like he went to Nashville to be like, country and rock guy, and nobody wanted him in rock and roll because he wasn't a rocker. Then he tried to do country, and he did a Come Monday, and it blew up. I mean, it blew the fuck up. And so everybody's like, "Oh, you're going to be the next big thing. We're going to put you on tour." So they did. They put him on tour, loaded him up in a bus, and sent him out from Nashville to El Paso. And by the time he got to El Paso, the record label dropped him, and they were like, "Yeah, you're not really that thing." And so he goes into a big depression. And who does he go seek solace with? One Texas' very own Jerry Jeff Walker, But he goes and Jerry Jeff was staying in Key West, and Jerry Jeff was like, "Hey man, come hang out with me." And so Jerry Buffett went down there and figured some things out and had a great fucking little career off of kind of bucking Nashville, and that was one of the things I loved about it. Uh,
Interesting.
he's got a lyric in a very it's kind of a small song, "Cowboy in the Jungle." It's not on everybody's list. It's not like on the essentials playlist, if you will, from Spotify or Apple Music. But he's got a line in there saying, "I don't want to live on your kind of island. I don't want to swim in a roped off sea." And as a 20-something punk piano player, it just kind of spoke to me, and I was like, "Yeah, you know what? I'm dropping out of college, and I'm going to be a country piano player. Fuck all you guys."
Interesting.
That's going to be the last land shark I drink tonight, because
Yeah, it's a terrible beer. I actually have a Jimmy Buffett story.
what? Have you been to a Jimmy Buffett concert?
Close.
It was going to shock me if you actually said yes.
No, about 12 years ago, I was invited to be a part of a wedding in Jamaica for one of my old Canadian friends. Canadians love Jamaica. They go there several times a year to escape the cold.
The cold, yeah, that makes sense.
They just love Jamaica. So this guy was getting married in Jamaica, and I went down there to be a part of it. And one night we went to Jimmy Buffett's Margaritaville bar, and the someone there at the staff there swiped my credit card information. I woke up the next morning to these alerts that all these purchases had been made on my credit card, and it was somebody at Margaritaville Bar and Grill stole my credit card information, which actually that kind of sounds like a Jimmy Buffett song. It
Really does.
Somebody in Margaritaville stole my personal information. But anyway, I didn't hold that against Jimmy Buffett, certainly.
Well, I think that's one of the things that's funny about Buffett is that just about every enterprise that I can think of that he has out there is a straight up money grab. And every like honest Jimmy Buffett fan knows it. It's just a straight up money grab, and they still enjoy the motherfucker anyway.
When I was reading the obituaries, one of the things that was common from multiple people, whether they were famous or...
Please don't tell me that Jerry Jeff Walker was a myth, and I've been buying the myth for 20 years.
I didn't come across that. I just read that repeatedly different people just talked about what a wonderfully nice guy he was. Just
Really?
whether it was other celebrities or some guy that was from Texas that Jimmy had invested something in 20 years ago because he had plenty of disposable income that was not some famous dude. And he talked about how Jimmy had been friends with his family for 20 years and was just super nice guy. There was a lot of stuff like that coming in. So,
well, Tut, you went for it. You went big and bold with the boot tonight. I respect that. You're right. The boot is usually, or in the old days, we did a democracy where you had to have the majority of the votes to fill the boot and
democracy.
Well, like I know I have shot down my fair share of heroes, and now that I have risked the same, I feel ashamed. And from now on, I'm like, dude, if it meant something to you, let's fucking boot it up. I'm not shooting anybody down from now on.
Well, yeah, because since our last show, actually, I proposed filling it up for Pee Wee Herman, and you shot the shit that down.
I did, and I feel like shit about it, and I'm sorry, and I apologize. If Paul Herman, just meant a lot to you, then, well, let's boot up this motherfucker. I'll drink another one of those land sharks to Pee Wee.
Paul Rubens.
Yeah, that's what I said.
And to be fair, Cody Yak Boy vetoed it too. So I was.
Don't get me wrong.
I
was a fan of Rubens, but I just you know what?
I don't want to live on your island. I don't want to swim in your roped off seas. Okay, guys.
It's too much for me.
I would like to just say that Cade acted very, as you mentioned, diplomatically in the past, but and I always appreciated that, and I appreciated that you accepted the results. However, I'm also going to, on the other side of that, say that I respect Tut for doing a unilateral booting. So if somebody just says, fuck it, this person meant something to me, I'm going to do a unilateral booting. I'll even if I disagree that that person deserves a booting, I'll support the member of the TNCC for.
Well, Tut's a
and
real.
I will too.
Tut's a real big man with his boot behind a little computer screen. It's not like I could reach over there and take it from him.
I was trying to.
You've been booted.
I didn't mean to foment dissension. I kind of thought.
No, I'm just teasing.
I liked it as a point of harmony for me, and I hear what you're saying spiritually, Doctor, and I agree.
And if you guys were paying close attention, I mean that the heel of that boot was barely filled up. It was like a few swallows at best. Come on, now.
I had about 4 or 5 before it.
Well, let's be honest. He filled it with land shark, so he wasn't going to really give it his all to get it all down.
You know what's funny though, Tut? Did you?
I was waiting for him to be like, "This is so good." Oh.
Tut, did you say
unilateral booting is going to cause this much dissension? I'm sorry, I supported it.
It's too late. You're on the record. Tut, did you say that the beer was buttery?
Land shark? No.
Oh, I could have swore because that is.
It smells like butt.
It's almost beer.
Okay, because I thought my memory of Land Shark was that it had kind of a buttery, really weird aftertaste, but
no, Dixie beer is buttery.
Oh God!
Did we have Dixie beer when we did the Stephen King movie, Maximum Overdrive?
No, I don't think we could find any Dixie beers.
Oh, okay.
No.
It's like this thing has jumped the shark.
No, I just like your marketing ploy. Land Shark Ale. It tastes like butt.
Smells like it too.
Oh, it totally does.
I guess I won't be reaching out to Land Shark for a sponsorship opportunity. Well, hey, speaking of beers, Yaks, as co-owner and the most handsome bartender at O'Brien's Irish Pub in downtown historic Temple, Texas, we always turn. Well, you told me you're the only guy tending bar there nowadays, aren't you? It's just you.
No, there's other people.
Oh, okay.
Not just me.
Okay, well, you're still the handsome.
Let him and piss all over this.
We have to. I will send you a text about reevaluating our handsomest.
The handsomest bartender, and shit, the only one. I mean, come on.
Oh, because he didn't shit all over Paul Rubens' dead corpse.
I didn't.
Hey, you know what? When Yak Boy gets arrested for whacking off in a movie theater, you let me know. Really, let me know. I'd like to know when that happens.
Look, I mean, yeah, so what? He got horny, he whacked off in a theater. You can't, that was decades ago. You can't keep holding that above him.
I was never asked to consult on a Paul Rubens booting.
You're telling me Jimmy Buffett never whacked off in a movie theater? Give me a break.
He was too stoned. He didn't whack off.
Well, first of all, it literally was like the old school, like nudie theater where they're literally showing like a porno on the big screen. First of all, we all know what everybody in the movie theater is doing. No one goes and yes, I want to buy a ticket to.
I am just here for the artistic expression.
Right. So who's going to go get a bucket of popcorn and sit down and literally just watch it? Nobody. We all know why they're there.
I'm here for the cinematography.
All right.
Lies.
You know what?
Lies.
I'm not going to let you guys drag Pee-wee's.
No, I'm defending
Let
Pee-wee
the bitterness of your lies
I'm like,
As
stop
buttery
judging
as
him
the
for
beer
this
of
one
the
act.
that we're drinking.
If you wanted to make up for your Pee Wee guilt, you would have said, "Damn, Pee Wee's Big Adventure was a great movie." Not remember that movie theater you jerked off in.
Yeah, but when I think back of it, there was only two great lines in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. One was "The stars at night are big and bright, deep in the heart of Texas," which is like the second best scene. The other line wasn't even delivered by him.
What, Large Marge?
Large Marge. Tell him Large Marge sent you.
Yeah. How's nobody made a Large Marge triple IPA yet?
Copyright Tuesday Night Cigar Club.
That's gotta be a beer, right? All right. Well, yeah, boy. We all are drinking as instructed by JC Newman. Oktoberfest Marzen style beers to go with tonight's cigar, which, by the way, I was telling Ted before the show, I haven't bought or drank a non-IPA beer in years, probably since at least 2020 when we started doing the show like this.
Shame on you.
Man, we used to drink a whole slew of different styles of beer on the show.
Actually, I'm sorry for shaming you for the beer you drink. That's a wrong move. I need to be supportive of your IPAs. And
Anybody else want
I
Tut?
am.
Anybody else want Tut to shave that mustache so he goes back to normal?
He's good. Let him be happy with it. Let him grow it to its fullest expectation.
Oh, I'm going for the Jason Sudeikis.
Yeah, man, leave Charles Durning alone. I mean,
Oh God.
he's allowed to have an opinion on stuff.
I gotta look.
Apparently, I don't,
Charles.
since I wasn't consulted on Paul
I
Rubens.
gotta look up Charles
Well,
Durning.
my first one of these was a little hard getting down. It reminded me a little bit of malt liquor, which I don't dislike malt liquor.
You love malt liquor.
But it's been a while. It has been a while, and it's hard to go from IPAs. You just looked up Charles Durning?
Yeah, I do. I kind of feel insulted, but he's badass.
He is. He was badass.
Indeed.
You don't look like
as usual around here, the second one's going down much smoother. And you know what? It actually is pairing well with the cigar. Don't you think so, yeah, boy?
I like my choice because
why don't you start with you? What are you drinking?
I am drinking the Altstadt Oktoberfest.
I almost went with that one out of Fredericksburg. Right?
Fredericksburg.
Yes,
good
out of
brewery, good
Fredericksburg,
brewery.
Texas. It is a 5.9%, 16 IBUs, so its bitterness is non-existent. And of course, I mean, the good thing is, I mean, Altstadt is, in terms of all of our beers, it's the newest brewery. It started back in 2018. But they they started in Fredericksburg, which is in Texas. It is a hot. It's a very much a tourist hot spot at this point. But it started out as a German commune, and the brewery, they wanted to stick to that German roots. So all of their beers are brewed in concert with what is known as the German purity law, or German beer purity law. In German, it's the Reinheitsgebot. Started back. It was the actual if you're looking for a law for food safety, it's the first one ever written in the world.
Huh.
Oh.
1516, the Reinheitsgebot.
Beer
beer can only be made from 4 ingredients: hops, barley, yeast, and with this one, it's artisanal spring water. That's artisanal, not artisanal. This is not water made by artists.
It's not water handcrafted by talented artisans?
What the fuck?
No, it's artisanal. It's spring water.
What the fuck? Artisanal spring water? What the hell is that?
Somehow they put kale chips in the ground.
Okay. Well,
does that water go enjoy a nice concert by Arcade Fire? I mean, what the hell is artisanal spring water?
No, not artisanal, artisanal.
What's the difference?
They mean two different things.
Oh,
Yeah.
If it was artisanal artisans, then we would just be. It would be insane.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: it is a beautiful brewery. Like it is.
And I highly recommend if you ever want to go see just an amazingly beautiful brewery.
Allstadt makes my favorite lager right now. The Allstadt Light. It's a beautiful crisp beer. It has gotten me through these 100-degree Texas days. I love that beer.
Well, Fredericksburg is known in Fredericksburg, Texas, as wine country. It's kind of the Napa of Texas, and I really like Fredericksburg. I like the restaurants. I like a lot of their wines, but they're starting to get more and more breweries around here.
Doc's face is like the wine country of Texas. Yeah, that's nice. That's cute.
That does exist.
I mean, it kind of is. There's lots of.
Oh yeah, I mean it is cute, but I mean it might be the wine country of Texas, but
that's what I said.
Like, well, no, it's kind of like saying, well, all my examples are going out the window.
I still just liked how Yax caught himself when he mentioned the German purity law, the German beer purity law. Like,
look, there's some slight negative connotations with certain word groups.
The food,
21st century.
Well, if you live in Texas and you want some good wine and visit a cool brewery, Fredericksburg, it's by no means the Napa of Texas.
Or maybe it is the Napa of Texas. It's just not Napa.
Yeah, that's why I said the Napa of Texas. You know, that mustache, man, we got all in favor.
Oh, no. This thing is staying. This thing is staying.
He needs to, it's in transition.
Yeah, and the attitude's starting to pop. I mean, dude, if you ain't growing, you ain't popping. I mean, it's going out there, man.
When it hits full, he's gonna be driving a Ferrari.
Dude, great. Yes, I'm gonna get one of those little red with the poinsettias shirts on it.
He's gonna be driving his Subaru, which is a Texas Ferrari.
See, that's it. That's like saying Fredericksburg is the Napa of Texas. Texas
Look,
we came full circle.
I love it when Doc is like, yes.
Sorry, Ted. I did all I could, and I failed miserably.
It's not my fault. I bought the Subaru, and I enjoy the Subaru. Damn it.
Yeah, boy. Moving on to the next Oktoberfest offering, I decided, knowing I probably wasn't going to enjoy it too much, but it's getting a little better with each sip. Tell everybody what I'm drinking.
The Yangling Oktoberfest. Now, I won't say that their Oktoberfest is going to be like Chartbuster, but it is the oldest. You did pick the oldest brewery in the U.S. 1829, Pottsville, Pennsylvania. And we were lucky enough to meet one of their master brewers,
Bob Seaman. Good guy. Really like Bob. Good guy. He gave us some handful of hops to bring back with us.
He like 4 different types of hops or whatever, and we were snorting it like crack. I mean, we literally just could like, this is pure hops.
Yeah. And that was a good interview. We actually interviewed him, and he did a lot of comparisons between the cigar world and craft beer, and it was a very, very knowledgeable guy.
Indeed, he did. So yeah, they make an Oktoberfest, and it's probably, if you like the style of beer, really good. Very, very malty.
That is Oktoberfest style. It's going to be malt forward. Bitterness is dialed down to nothing. Yours is right in at 5.3 ABV and 14 IBUs. So if you taste any bitterness, that would be a miracle of beer science.
I do not taste any bitterness. I just taste malts, but it's fairly smooth here as I approach glass number 3. Okay. What about Let's go Doctor next.
The Good Doctor is having the St. Arnold Oktoberfest. Also, another wonderful one of the St. Arnold Brewing, also located Houston, Texas. One of the oldest craft brewers here in Texas. Started back in 1994, which really isn't that long ago, but
hey, for American craft beers, yeah.
I mean,
hey, Houston is the Dallas of Texas.
That makes no sense.
In Houston, we call that a Fort Worth shampoo.
I love St. Arnold beers.
Yeah, we had the lawnmower. I like the lawnmower when we did the Can't Buy Me Love episode.
We did a fancy art car. We did
yes. They make
they did their Mexican chocolate.
Mm-hmm.
They do like a Mexican chocolate lager or hot cocoa lager, something like that. Mexican cocoa.
Yes.
I might just be making all this up.
Remember the name of it.
But yeah, we've actually featured at least 4 or 5 of their beers over the years. Doc, is it good?
I'm gonna give it the ultimate compliment. I just opened number 3.
Okay.
That's not a compliment. You opened 3 of everything.
You know what? Now all of a sudden I might turn against the mustache. It seems to have made somebody contrary of attitude and a little spicy, maybe. Kind of like his jackal on a t-shirt. He's got a little spicy. I'm enjoying the St. Arnold Oktoberfest. It's like Cade, I probably haven't had too many beers that aren't IPAs unless I was already drunk. But yeah, the St. Arnold Oktoberfest is working for me. I like it.
And that's my thing is that like I don't want to poo on your choice of beers, but I mean there's a wonderful cornucopia of beer flavors out there that range the gamut, and all of them are great. Even brown ales, which I have not been able to find a single brown ale that I've liked, I still believe that there is one out there. There is a cornucopia of beer flavors out there. Why just limit yourself to the IPA playground? Get out there, explore with the maltiness.
Well, Tut, I mean, I explored every beer there was to explore for
no, you haven't.
Almost 30 years.
It's like movies. You can watch movie after movie after movie and still just not even get close to all that's out there. The water's beautiful. Come on in.
I would like to make a further comment on the St. Arnold Oktoberfest. For those that are into the malty beer, I can absolutely see this. I think we've said this before, Cade, about malty beers. I know we have a couple guys here that are fans of if you get yourself a good platter of fish and chips. This is an English pub fish and chips beer.
Mm.
Now you're talking my language. You are.
Yeah, but real quick, your little
here it comes.
Your little analogy there. your little analogy there. You know, there's you guys need to dip your toes in the waters of all beer types. It's like cinema. You can't limit yourself.
By the way, later on tonight, I'm totally limiting myself, but go ahead.
Hundreds of movies every year are made in China, Korea. Europe has a huge film industry, even South America and Brazil. When's the last time you watched any movies from any of those places?
The Wandering Earth, it was 2 years ago. RRR India last year. Yeah, I mean, if it comes across my palate, I watch it.
The Wandering Earth, really? You just
What's wrong with it? No, I did not. It's like a very famous book.
You thought we would just gloss over. Oh, well, The Wandering Earth. I guess the guy knows.
It's a huge sci-fi book. I mean, they made a movie out of it, and it was fine. It was a little bit jingoistic, full of Chinese pride, full of Chinese propaganda, but it was still, at its core, a fun sci-fi movie. Also ripped off Armageddon in a lot of ways.
Life is to be enjoyed, though. And each, that's up to the individual. And if you have something that you really like, then why
That's
should
true.
why should you go outside of that? I mean, yeah,
God.
try new things, blah blah blah, but nobody here's a spring chicken. If you got something that you love to do, Cade's developed a fondness for IPAs, and
It's an addiction, actually.
as Cade's lifelong partner in drinking and addictions, I can vouch for the fact that he has tried many things in his life prior to IPAs.
I'm actually trying to stop drinking IPAs. I can't. I need help, please, guys.
You know,
Cade,
Doc,
you could
you're
kill.
right. Doc, you're right. And just like
Doctor, please help me.
Okay, once again, you slayed me.
just like I shamed him for his Pee Wee Herman love, I shouldn't have. I shouldn't have shamed you for your IPA love. And I didn't really mean to shame you. I was just trying to put you outside of your comfort level. But yes, if the dragon of IPA is the dragon you want to chase, then go ahead and chase that dragon.
Oh, we're at it, Tut. This is the second time tonight that you've apologized for something, and I think you're spending goddamn too much time on a college campus. Jason Tuttle, I know, didn't apologize for stuff, and I liked that guy. This is twice. We're like, you're right. I was insensitive. Fuck that shit.
No, Doctor, his apologies are about the only thing I'm liking out of him tonight.
I haven't apologized to Cade in 12 years.
Just let him go. I'm hoping to get some back apologies tonight.
No, it's not going to happen.
Why don't you drink a few more of those land sharks? See what happens.
Oh, St. Arnold, just keep delivering me to the promised land.
All right. Well, I guess we got to hear why, Yak Boy. I guess we got to hear why Tuttle's beer is the star of the show, the fanciest, most sophisticated beer selection of the evening, because he, got it in Austin, Texas, which is the Lincoln of Nebraska.
It is indeed the Lincoln of Nebraska. All right, fine. I will give you why. Because it is actual import.
Hold that up, Tut, closer to the screen.
I can't because it'll get blurry.
Oh, it is blurry.
Oh, yeah.
But what it says on that yellow label is the Schlinkeren Rockbier.
Oh, good job.
It is the original Schlinkeren smoke beer. It is a Marzen. It is an Oktoberfest. The Schlinkera Brewery, of course, is located in Bamberg, Bavaria, Germany. They started back in the year of our Lord 1405.
Eat it.
Anno Domini. Yes.
I don't know why I got so aggressive on that, but eat it.
No, it is. It is a wonderful history. Way back in the day, they were House of the Blue Lion. Of course.
What does that mean?
Well, various royal lines. If you look at the Bavarian flag, it's blue and white. So blue is a very royal color throughout Bavaria. But now the brewery itself has been run by the Trum family.
I kind of want to be House of the Green Turtle.
Well, no.
Is that a thing?
That inspires no fear in one's enemies.
The Red Turtle.
Still not inspiring fear.
Fuck.
Yeah.
But like I said, the brewery has been in the Trum family, has been run by them for 6 generations now.
Jesus.
Please.
Sorry.
Is it good?
I'm just exploring the beer space. I'm just expanding my beer horizon.
You explored the beer space enough for everybody.
If you reference the beer space one more time.
Honestly, Tut, in Salado, we call that a Fort Worth air conditioner.
We do, actually.
It's a beautiful beer. It is an absolute beautiful beer. You can taste a little bit of the smoke presence. There's a lot of smoke beers in the craft beer industry that I've tried that it's just smoke in name only. There is a bit of smokiness to it, but it's not like a peat. It's not like heavy-handed. It's just very light, very malt forward. There's a little bit of spice to it. It is just a beautiful, beautiful drinking beer. And my only regret is that we're in Texas with 100 degrees, because if it was just a little bit colder, this thing would be like just a godsend. And I am enjoying the ever living fuck out of it. It is nice paired with the cigar. It's actually giving a nice, almost like a fruit presence across the palate to it. And I know the cigar does not have that. I know
No.
it's an addition from the beer pairing, which
Yeah.
is a very, very cool thing. It's got, you got that little white pepper on the retrohale that's still very, very light. But when you get that pepper across the retrohale with a little bit of that fruit coming across the palate because of the combination, it's great.
Man. Okay. Sounds good. Well, boys, that's the roundup on Oktoberfest. Cheers. Not only to Oktoberfest, but to our 9th annual Spooktacular Boorific drinking and drinking some more Bonanza Extravaganza.
God, I love this time. I love spending this time with you guys.
Look at Tut.
Because I have to. I have to.
Tut's trying to make friends again. Well, real quick, what we started doing this year is one of the great things about when we do these Zooms, or well, hell, I guess since our last show, we went out dove hunting and got to sit around and smoke some cigars out underneath a beautiful moon. But we just like to fill each other in on what we're digging, and what we've caught that we think the other guys would like. So this is the portion of the show we've come to call the fire pit. And Yak Boy, you were so damn excited. I'm going to let you fire things off here. Your long-awaited Venture Brothers animated
yes,
feature film dropped recently, and I saw the trailer. It looked nuts, absolutely bananas. You're the world's biggest Venture Brothers fan. Did it live up to your expectations, or?
It's a hard thing because you're saying goodbye. They did a movie to cap off the series after 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
They were gonna, they did all this, and
real quick,
if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. Watch the series, but the movie, of course, it's called The Venture Brothers. Radiant is the blood of the baboon heart. You can't write these titles yourself. They just.
Well, real quick, Yax, it's, for those that don't know, it's a kind of a comedic adult animated series that it reminds me a lot of with a lot of satire of like the old Johnny Quest.
They riffed heavily upon that, but it was, and they built from that foundation, but then went off in their own direction. And it's, if you love, or you watch any your sci-fi comic books, they take, they pull from so many different directions, and then they like just shove it all into one series. So it riffs, and it pulls from music from literally every direction,
mm-hmm.
every type, from television, movies, music. These guys were very masterful in just sort of crafting this world that is just, it twists everything around a little bit, but if you like I said, if you like certain things, you will see it. You'll see that comic book reference. You will see that music reference. Just everything. And they took it, and it's one of my favorite series. It has made me laugh. I still watch episodes that I've seen like 10 times, and I just laugh hysterically. So.
All right. Sounds like a ringing endorsement from Yak Boy. Todd, are you familiar with the Venture Brothers?
No, I'm not. I've heard of them, but I know nothing about them.
Perhaps next time you're exploring the cartoon space, you could break out of your comfort zone and watch the bench. Actually,
it's true because there's a lot of times where I don't break out of my space, and when I finally do, like, oh my god, I always go up with Cody and I'm like, man, what anime should I be watching? And Cody rattles off these lists of anime, and I'm like, no, I don't like your list because I'm pretty sure they're all going to be baby voices and high pitched squealing, and I don't like that. But I remember the first time I watched Cowboy Bebop, and I was like, this shit is fucking real. Why didn't you tell me about that sooner? And he did. He's been telling me that for 5 years.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
all right.
There are certain things that you have to overcome, and then there are certain things you have to live with as just part of the style, as part of what a lot of them do. But
well, yeah. Speaking of things that many were excited about, like you were the Venture Brothers thing, you also checked out The Flash, which I'll admit I'm not really a DC guy, but everything looked really cool about that movie. I as far as bringing back Michael Keaton and some of the other old characters, did it work for you, or was it a mess?
I understood the concept of what they were trying to follow from the comic book, which had been made into various, like animated features.
Yeah, they had an animated feature.
Is called the Flash Point Paradox. And basically, Flash uses his powers to go back in time, and he alters history. That's the premise.
Right.
And from that, all kinds of weirdness happen. But because they're trying to make said concept fit within the parameters of the live action films that they had done, I understood what they were trying to do, and a lot of it made sense if you write it down, but once you actually saw it on screen, I was left wanting.
I said your expression on your face looks like it was kind of a mess.
Yeah,
it was. The best way to put it is that there's a scene in the film in which Keaton himself describes, like, if you do this and you do that, then you have these lines intersecting these different timelines. But if you continue to do that, you end up with just a bowl of spaghetti. And this film literally was just that. It was a bowl of spaghetti.
Shame.
Interesting. Okay. Was it at least cool to see Keaton in the bat suit?
Oh, he was probably the best thing in the movie. I'm not like trying to say anything about it, but that's kind of sad when you think like, Ezra Miller was trying to do all this other stuff, and
fuck that dude.
But it was supposed to be his film, but literally they brought a guy in halfway through, and that's it.
Okay.
But it also says something to me in that sense that literally, in terms of like, hey, he's always riffed on it, but he's never actually portrayed Batman any other time other than in the Burton films of, the original 89 Batman.
Yeah.
And then in Batman Returns, and that was it.
Yeah.
But the fact that he could literally just roll right back into that character after 30-something years.
Yeah.
I love Keaton in that movie that he got cancer and made me cry back in the 90s. I've always liked Keaton, but I think we've all agreed that Keaton in Homecoming, just that one fucking scene when he's in the car at the homecoming dance, that just tells you everything about Keaton the actor. It's just it doesn't surprise me that he's the best thing of this spaghetti bowl piece of crap.
Yeah, that scene totally drew from his very underrated Keaton flick was it's called Pacific Heights.
Oh yes,
where Melanie Griffith and Matthew Modine rent out their spare bedroom in this big gothic house to this weirdo Michael Keaton. He seems very normal, but he turns out to be this complete psychopath who won't leave, who's like all hours of the night hammering, and he's breeding cockroaches, and he's just this super creepy dude. And when I saw that scene of him and Peter Parker in Homecoming, I was like, oh, he's totally dusting off his Pacific Heights tool out of his Pacific Heights toolbox for this. Yeah, he's just awesome. All right, I'm just gonna say this, right, and I don't want to get off on a tangent, but I'm just gonna say this.
Too late.
And I really can't say it because I don't watch any of them, but I'm just so tired of multiverses and every superhero thing. It's just, I don't watch them, so I really have no business bitching about them, but everything is like just all these different universes colliding and intersecting, and it's just, just come up with a cool looking bad dude and a cool looking good dude and make them fight.
I do watch them, and I 100% agree with you. And I just want the days of the villain of the week Flash episodes, and let's have fun.
Yeah, let's do that. Well, we were naturally for tonight's episode featuring a horror movie, but Doctor, you actually caught a few fright flicks recently that earned a thumbs up from you, which hey. A Doctor thumbs up doesn't come easy. He knows what he likes. He knows just as much what he doesn't like. I've got a couple I want to run by you that you had just mentioned to me off the cuff that you'd seen. I'm going to start with one you like. I got two that you liked, and then I got one that you didn't. But let's start with 1986's Deadly Friend. This was Wes Craven's first theatrical feature film after the success in '84 of Nightmare on Elm Street. He made this, and I'll admit it's one of the very few Wes Craven movies that I have never seen, which is crazy because back in the day, teenage Christy Swanson, mix that with Wes Craven, I should be all over this movie, but it always escaped me, and for some reason you got a hair up your ass to watch it, and you reported back good things.
Yeah, and I think it's one of those late discoveries which we're now really loving. I think we did a show on Phantom of the Mall. I mean, some of these flicks are now popping up after years. There was a VHS tape and it never got a DVD transfer, and now these things are being made available streaming. I think that's the case with Deadly Friend. I can't prove that, but I think that's why you missed it, because I asked you if you'd seen it, because I just found that it was available on Shudder. So yeah, Cade gave the introduction. Very different in tone from what you'd expect from a Wes Craven movie. It's a suspense film. Basically, the gist of it is that there's a kind of a dorky kid, but he's like really smart. He's already going to college at like age 16. And moving into the house next door is the lovely Christy Swanson, and I believe her first film role at age 16 or 17. And she lives with an abusive father, and all this happens in the first 5 minutes. I'm not giving anything away. It's important to the plot. He like knocks her down a flight of stairs when she's drunk, and she's like brain dead. So this guy is a genius in robotics. Was able to, like, in a Frankenstein type way, bring her back to life. And of course, she kind of walks around in a Frankenstein way, which is amusing. But they tried to make it a suspense thing like that. I don't want to give myself credit for this because it's obvious. When watching it, it's a fun movie, but when watching it, there's certainly a disjointedness to it. And when I went back and read the IMDb trivia afterwards, it's not like, oh, hey, I was clever, it was disjointed. It's obvious when you watch the film. Apparently, I don't know how this happens, but it's something that could happen in the 80s. It's a low budget film. It gets greenlit. And I guess there were people at the studio that after the movie's being greenlit and Craven's making the picture, they find out who he is. Like, oh, you're the guy that made that hugely popular Nightmare on Elm Street movie, and now you're making this kind of suspense sort of thing. No, inject some of that Nightmare on Elm Street shit in there so we can say, brought to you by the Nightmare on Elm Street guy. And I think maybe there was some poor initial screenings. So there's this kind of suspenseful sort of sci-fi with teen element thing. And then just out of nowhere, like there's 4 or 5 scenes, maybe a half dozen that are just straight up 80s gore and like what the fuck right at a Nightmare on Elm Street kind of, all of a sudden it's Freddy walking down the street with these 20-foot long arms, and it's like, where the hell did this come from? Like, and I read that like they basically went to Craven, and he's still a young guy at the time. This is almost 40 years ago, and told him to do it. And rather than say go fuck yourself, he went ahead and injected these scenes. But it only kind of adds to the enjoyment of the film.
Okay, well, it's definitely on my list now.
Doc, it sounds like out of the decades of exploring the movie space, you found that there's still movies out there that you haven't enjoyed, and you're getting enjoyment out of them.
That's true, Todd, but not because I didn't know about them and ignored them. It was because I had no idea, and all of a sudden,
that's what I'm saying.
I didn't know it existed. It's not like I knew it existed and said, "No, you're not for me." It was like, "Wow, here's something I didn't know existed."
Yeah, yeah. I think Tut's impression of you and your activities in the movie space were incorrect.
I don't know. I think we can both agree that we're both right.
I know what analogy you were trying to draw, and while I mostly have been supportive this evening, I don't get it there. This was not a reaching for a beer I've never had. This was a wow.
Well, hey,
you're a new version of the beer I like.
You also like 2020's horror riff on the well, there's been a lot of Freaky Friday movies dating back to I think the latest ones were Jamie Lee Curtis and Lindsay Lohan, but there was one, I think, when there one like back in the 60s or 70s that started the whole thing, and then there was like the Kirk Cameron, Judge Reinhold. There was
the Dudley Moore.
There was a Dudley Moore one,
like Father Like Son.
That's the one I like.
But they did a new riff on that called Freaky a couple of years ago that you checked out, Doc, and you said that was really good.
Highly recommend it. So yeah, it's a horror comedy, body switch comedy. So you have Vince Vaughn, who's playing a hardcore serial killer. I mean, like they show his lair. There's like dead animals. I mean, he's like a Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, whatever worst kind of that you can imagine. Very attractive young blonde actress named Catherine Newton. She's been in some horror films. I think she's probably well into her 20s, but she has a petite figure and she's able to play a high school character. The only complaint, and because Kate and I have seen this so many times, it doesn't bother him anymore. Catherine Newton is actually a very stunning young woman, blonde hair, blue eyes, very pretty. They have her character being the sort of frumpy, uncool, the boys don't like her, that kind of, single parent. She shops at the discount store, and it's like, I'm sorry, this chick is, every guy in high school is trying to get with this chick. She's stunning. So, yeah. But they do she's a petite young woman, and Vince Vaughn is a giant of a man. He's like 6'5", 6'6". They do a thing where she's like the mascot for the high school team. They do a body switch where like a lightning bolt strikes, and so obviously that's the crux of the movie. I know there's a lot of people. I did not worship at the altar of like Old School and Wedding Crashers and Dodgeball. I thought they were fun movies. I liked them. I liked Vince Vaughn. He is so good in this. After the body switch, which happens very early on. So for the most of the movie, here's 6'6", 50-year-old Vince Vaughn, who looks pretty good for his age, supposed to be inhabited by the body of the 17-year-old teenage girl. He's really, really good in it. He's really funny in it. I don't want to give too much away. And then the young Catherine Newton, who all of a sudden wakes up in the morning in this suburban home with her family, and her body has Vince Vaughn, this maniacal Michael Myers serial killer. She's really good too. They're both really good. They really make it work. And I'll just say that from the get-go, from the beginning, um, it's a horror movie. I mean, if the idea of a knife getting plunged into somebody's stomach and visceral gore is like, ooh, I don't do that. You want to stay away from this. I mean, they give you all of it, and I was really entertained. I recommend Freaky, and dude, I really appreciated Vince Vaughn and Catherine Newton, their performances in it. You really got to buy that, and yeah, there's silliness in it, but they really made it work. It was a fun movie.
Okay. And then I guess on the flip side of that coin, a movie that we were both looking forward to because it was the first feature film directed by Dwight Little, who directed our beloved Halloween 4 and our little slightly less beloved Steven Seagal movie Marked for Death. But we've been big Dwight Little fans. He had his return to horror recently with the straight to video film Natty Knocks earlier this year. But not only was the director of Halloween 4 back in action, he brought along Danielle Harris of Halloween 4. And wasn't there somebody else of note in it that I'm
Bill Moseley.
And Bill Moseley, Chop Top from Chainsaw Massacre and those horrible Rob Zombie movies. But your report card on that was not as favorable as the ones for Deadly Friend and Friday. You said it sucked.
Yeah, I think Little there was a combination and you're gonna need to correct me if I'm wrong, Kate. I think I got this right, but there was a Halloween 4 Wonder combination of Dwight Little and a screenwriter named Alan McElroy, or McElroy, however you pronounce it. And I think McElroy wrote the original Wrong Turn movie, if I remember that correctly, which I believe we enjoyed. He needed an Alan Mack back in there with him to on this one. Yeah, it was I wanted to like it. We were really excited because of Dwight Little. I mean, Halloween 4 is one of our favorite movies of all time. Certainly one of our favorite horror movies of all time. And
you just can't beat a bad. You just can't win with a bad script.
It just didn't work. And yeah, I mean, some of the characters weren't written very well. No fault to Danielle Harris. I thought she did good in the role that she was playing. But yeah, that one's kind of a stay away from, but sort of all over the map, and all over the map can be good or it can be very, very bad. In this case, it was not good.
Very bad. Okay. Well, it's by no means categorized as horror. Tut, you've been watching the new Star Wars series over on Disney Plus. Is it pronounced
Ahsoka?
And some of the images I've seen from it, especially that Grand Admiral Thrawn, the blue-faced dude, and that stormtrooper with like the gold human face in it. Certainly are creepy.
Cinematography wise, it's balls out. I love it. Just landscape wise, scenery wise, it's just visually impacting. Yes.
Is this on the level? I know. I honestly, I really enjoyed the first 2 seasons of The Mandalorian. That Boba Fett show was so bad, I quit halfway through. Never gave Kenobi a chance. Wasn't there another one maybe, or is this the
Anders, something like that?
Yeah,
Andor
didn't do that.
Which actually is a good flick. It's a slow burn. The first couple of episodes are not. I mean, it's just very. It sets up, but they do a great world. They do great world building. So Andor is valuable in that. It's got some of my favorite side characters.
Andor is one of those where it fills in those what you wouldn't think are cracks or what you would, the things you don't, that the quote unquote normal people don't think about, but somebody else does think about. Andor fills in all of the cracks of what that person thinks about, and it fills in every little thing. Like, what's all those other people doing when those characters are doing that? That's what Andor fills in all of it.
I'll tell you what Ahsoka is. Ahsoka is season 5 of the animated series called Rebels. There is, Filoni cut his teeth on the Clone Wars. Then there was another animated season called Rebels, which is like right before Episode 4, which was the original Star Wars. So it had a lot of really good characters. It had a lot of really good Star Wars lore. I cannot stress it enough. If you are a Star Wars fan, watch the animated season of Rebels because there is a shit ton of lore and world building that he does in this that is just excellent. And Ahsoka is kind of like the continuation of that. And I, I can't I can't speak glowingly about it because honestly, I think that it's too rushed. There are some really great characters introduced in Ahsoka. It's got someone who's fastly becoming my favorite Star Wars character, and that's Baylan Skull, played by the late Ray Stevenson. Uh, he has such a commanding presence. He's not doing anything. It's just him. And just, talking like normal. He's not lightsaber fighting, but I'm like, dude, I want to follow you. I'm not force sensitive, but I just want to clean your fucking cloak if I can hang around you. That's the kind of presence that he brings to it. And man, it's just a shame that we're not going to get anything from him because he can no longer be with us.
Yeah.
But it's just the series is too rushed. It is trying to move the plot too fast, and there's so much meat on the table in this thing that they're not going to get to because we're about to wrap up the season, and it's a shame because these characters deserve more. I wish this would have actually been an animated series that they could flesh all these storylines out. But at the same time, it's wonderful to see the work that Ray Stevenson is doing because it's magical in its understatement.
Wow, that's high praise.
Man, I'm almost tearing up thinking about it because the dude is just good. Like, when you watch him in Punisher, he's got this confliction just to his natural resting face to where he can project power, but there's also a bit of sadness to him. Mm-hmm. And that's exactly what he's doing with Baylan Skull. And it is just, it's beautiful. I wish that we could see more.
Well, Todd, you mentioned just something offhand a minute ago. I just wanted to check. Have you notified your past sexual partners that have you tested not force sensitive, or are you just kind of going
I'm going on my own instinct.
Your own instincts there?
Yeah. Okay. There's nothing that I've exhibited in my past that leads me to believe that I might be force sensitive.
Okay. If something pops up though, I think you owe it to some people to
if I'm force sensitive, all you motherfuckers are going to know it.
Just get yourself
choking all of you motherfuckers.
That's what I'm saying.
Wait, that's wrong. No, it's beautifully shot. It's worth visiting, even for all of its shortcomings, even with it being a little too aggressive in projecting its plot or propelling its plot. It's still a worthwhile watch.
Well, you know what, Ray Stevenson over the last decade, 2 decades, played some really cool tough guys, and then you watched you messaged me one night, speaking of tough guys, you were watching a flick with Dave Bautista called Final Score, which you described as Die Hard at a soccer game.
It is. It's a straight Die Hard ripoff, and guess who was the villain in it? Ray Stevenson.
Oh, is he in that too?
That's the reason why I watched it. It's because I got on this Ray Stevenson kick, and he was the villain in it. And he's like really one of the beautiful things in the movie. Not to say that don't go watch it. Don't watch it.
Actually, no, it's funny. After you mentioned that, my TV, my smart TV, when you turn it on, it has these like pre-programmed channels like Samsung TV that you don't pay for. It's just like these free things. And they have the Samsung All Action channel, and that's what's every time I turn my TV on, that's what comes up. And it from what I can tell, all morning long they play Roger Moore, The Saint, black and white TV series, and then at some point in the afternoon, it switches to about a 7-hour block of Renegade with Lorenzo Lamas. And then after,
let me write this down. That was Samsung Action TV. All right.
and then in the evening they play some
Is
action.
Two Feather in that? Yeah, Two Feathers in that.
Six Killer.
Six Killer. That's it.
Six Killer.
I think his cousin was Two Feather. But no, and then at night they play action movies, and they're never good. But dude, after you told me that, a couple of days later, I turned on my TV at night, and there on my TV is Final Score, and it's a scene of Dave Bautista riding this motorcycle on top of this soccer stadium.
Oh, it's horrible.
And he like jumps over this. It's like a major league soccer game going on, and he jumps this dirt bike. This chick's chasing him, shooting a machine gun at him, and nobody's aware, loud audience. But somehow he jumps this motorcycle, jumps off this scaffolding, and like lands in the audience, his seat in the stadium, like right next to Pierce Brosnan. Like he like physically like jumps, like his ass just lands in the seat. He's like, I've got the documents or something. I'm like, oh, this is terrible. This is like the worst thing I've ever seen.
It really is. And I have a love-hate relationship with Batista because I do think that given the right direction, I think there's something there for him. But it has to have a direction or a director that knows how to get that performance out of him. Like his little small scene in the Blade Runner, the last Blade Runner.
Yeah, the first opening scene.
Dude, I love that opening scene. It's a beautiful Batista scene, and Batista is actually able to give you something other than the tough guy. And there's actually a sensitivity to him that's kind of hard. Batista can give you that, but you have to have a director that can manage his WWE acting.
Yeah.
Because you can tell Batista to go emotional and Batista will cry for you, but it's like a WWE actor crying, and you have to be able to tone that down. It's kind of like Roddy Piper with John Carpenter. John Carpenter's like, tone it down, dude.
Yeah. Basically, give me nothing. You know what? I'm just going to name your character Nada. How's that? Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. Don't run out and see Final Score. Well, real quick, boys. I do have a quick few flicks to toss into the discussion, but before we do, I'm about starting the last third of the cigar. For me, it has been a very consistent cigar. I stick with my kind of leathery, very mild pepper on the nose, and then it's really just got a very medium, smooth earthiness to it. I haven't gotten any of you guys' hay or any kind of rodeo stuff as we call it. It's just been a very medium, smooth smoke, but not a lot of transitions, not a lot of complexity. It's kind of been the same for me from start to finish. Well, that's not a bad thing. It actually, I wish, if anything, I wish that pepper had increased at some point. I really think
it would have been nice, but I mean,
I really think a strength and some pepper sizzle in the nostrils around the halfway point would have really just kind of woken the cigar up. I think it would have really paired well with that Oktoberfest beer to bring in some strength and some spice out of the cigar. Having said that, they were nice dancing partners. The beer went down smooth with it. And I think in Tut's case, especially, like he said, the smokiness of that Marzen he's drinking really added something to the cigar. It's a good cigar. And it's, you know what? I'll give it credit for its consistency. It has literally stayed the same cigar throughout the first 2/3. Maybe something crazy will happen here in the final act. We'll see. But is that kind of in sync with what you boys are experiencing?
pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think, yeah, like you said, it would have been, this cigar would be much more if that pepper had at least held on or increased towards the last half. But all in all, like even without that, I'm like, it's been solid. It's been even. I can't complain.
It's been enjoyable.
It has dwindled. It has just held steady. So,
and I will say this: after 3 of the Oktoberfest beers, I had come prepared with a sizable rum and coke. I've got some Floridacana in here, and it's
you just mean it's just rum. There's no coke in there.
It's just rum. You happy now, Yaks?
I am very.
Damn it.
Hayden was quoting Coke when we weren't looking. So Coke.
Well, I was hoping maybe some of the spice in the rum might, but I just switched over to the rum, so I'll report back a little bit later. But real quick to close out the fire pit session, while you guys were busy watching horror flicks and superhero stuff and Star Wars and all that fun stuff, I just so happened, it just kind of happened when you live in a house with all females. I watched 3 female driven movies since our last show. I did go see the Barbie movie in the theater. I think it was the first time I had been to the theater in a few years. And you know what? It made my 6-year-old who plays with Barbies happy. And it made my 12-year-old who's very cynical of everything at this stage in life and very approaches the world with her father's sarcastic.
Oh, shit.
She actually got a kick out of it. So you know what? It did its job. It wasn't made for me, but I certainly didn't feel like I wasted my time watching. It was fun, but it was definitely, it had something for, I felt like it had something for my 6-year-old, my 12-year-old, and my wife got a kick out of it too. So that was Barbie. And then I ended up watching drop my quote fingers, raunchy comedy called No Hard Feelings, starring one of the biggest female box office stars out there, Jennifer Lawrence of Hunger Games fame. And I had seen the previews for this, and it was going to be Jennifer. And I didn't realize till after I saw this movie, I've never seen a Jennifer Lawrence movie. I've never actually seen this woman act. So I didn't have anything to base it off of, like her usual stuff. But yes, there's sexual humor. Yes, there's a scene where she gets butt ass naked, full frontal, top and bottom, which for a star of her magnitude is admirable. I'll say courageous. But it had that death stamp that you don't want to have as a comedy, in that it just wasn't funny. And it had 2 completely unlikable lead characters. She basically plays this kind of Uber driver loser who's struggling to get by, and her car breaks down and she needs her car to make money. And these rich wasps who, she lives in the seaside little neighbor, like the Hamptons, but she inherited this house there from her mother when she died. And so the only funny part about it is the rich dad is played by Matthew Broderick, and he's got like this white mullet, and he's got the sweater tied around his wrist. But they're basically like, look, our son is a giant loser. He just plays video games in his room. He's brilliant. He's like going to Harvard or somebody. Like, we can't send him off to college a virgin. We need you to seduce him and kind of pop his cherry before he goes off to school and make him kind of cool. It's kind of like Can't Buy Me Love, but the parents basically say, if you do that, we'll get your car fit. Or they have this old car that was like
Failure to Launch with Matthew McConaughey and Sarah Jessica Parker.
Yeah, and like I said, the premise of this movie is like, but if you reverse,
I drove the doctor away.
Then all of a sudden it is a movie, like everybody would be protesting it.
Well, that's the thing, is everyone would be protesting also because she's basically this 30-year-old something woman who's being paid to bang a teenage kid. And
technically they did say he's 19.
Yeah.
But it just,
but still,
what was the movie that we watched with Keanu Reeves and Winona Ryder? Because when you said there's two unlikable, yeah, when you said there's two unlikable characters, they had two unlikable characters, but unlike this movie, it was funny as fuck.
Oh man, that had some of the funniest dialogue I've seen in years. This is the opposite of that. This is, the kid was insufferable. She was just kind of a mean bitch, and the jokes fell flat. And it was just, I haven't watched a comedy that unfunny in a long time. So those were I watched those two, and then I rented a movie that I was on my radar, and I actually wanted to see in the theater, and I just, it takes so much for me to get to the theater. But you guys see the previews for that movie Fall? About
the two chicks way up high?
Yes. Here's why I wanted to see it. I have a real problem with certain heights, mainly driving over like really high bridges and overpasses.
Like the big 183 bridge in Austin.
Every time we go over it, I clench. I don't breathe. If I'm in the passenger seat, which is even worse somehow, I grab the oh shit handle and I just close my eyes. I have a real big problem. And then here's what really gets me. You know, when you'll be like on Facebook or YouTube and they'll have those little reels of people, there's these group of people that like go to like Japan and Saudi Arabia, and they'll sneak up on top of like skyscrapers and just kind of take video of them just like doing handstands on the edge, or just looking down like off the Empire State Building as every time I see videos like that, my stomach legitimately just cramps up, and I can't handle stuff like that. So I'm like, man, this movie would be like, for me, this movie should be terrifying. Like, I shouldn't be able to watch this movie if they do it right. If these little videos on my phone give me that anxiousness, imagine a big screen. And for the most part, it was fine, but somehow they didn't. There was moments where it was suspenseful, and there was moments where I kind of got the butterflies in my stomach, but the majority of it, I just felt like I was watching two chicks on a soundstage on a pretend top of a pole, and so it disappointed me. But I devoted a good chunk of, since our last show, watching female-centric films, and I've got no regrets.
Have you guys watched The Machine?
Yeah.
Oh, with the comedian?
Yeah. So I tried to watch it, and I didn't bring it up because I tried to watch it, and I made it about 10 minutes. It's literally a dude trying to be Seth Rogen, and I don't like Seth Rogen, and I'm just like, I'm not going to watch an imitation of a guy I don't like, and it's not funny. I mean,
it looked terrible.
It was. It's disappointing because I didn't even get to see Mark Hamill, who's Luke Skywalker, before I bailed. I was just like, X, you're out.
Oh, jeez.
That's disappointing about Fall, Cade, because I know we talked about it a long time ago when we first saw the trailer, and the trailer was kind of vomit-inducing. It looked like they really could have done it. I mean, obviously they weren't going to put people at risk, so I can see what you said about the soundstage, but they still could have done a better job, I guess. I didn't see it myself.
A better director could have made a hell of a suspenseful movie out of that premise, and they just didn't technically pull it off. You could just tell when the chick's dangling, from the top, that's green screen of the ground beneath her. I mean, it's just it wasn't immersive. You didn't feel like you were up there with them. And I just kept thinking, like, man, if this had been shot better and directed differently, this movie could have made a fortune on IMAX screens. If you actually felt like you were up there with it, it could have been a really, really groundbreaking film in that regard. And no, unfortunately, not even close. But apparently I've heard they're making a sequel, so I don't know why these girls would ever try this again. But Well, hey, real quick, and we are going to briefly, wouldn't be our Halloween episode if we didn't mention a movie, and we are going to take you quickly through this really cool foreign film. At least I hope you guys think it's as cool as I do. But real quick, because we probably won't be doing another show before October 31st, I've asked all the boys to just hit you with one horror movie recommendation and tell you why. If you're only going to watch one on Halloween night, what you need to watch. And I don't know what Yax is going to give. I don't know what Tut's going to give, but I do know what the doctor's going to give, and I fully endorse it. And more Halloweens than not, it's playing at my house. So, Doctor, I'm going to give you the floor first. Tell these people what they need to watch on Halloween night.
Well, I believe we did a
Or
show,
else.
or else. I believe we did a show several years ago. I think we did a double feature show on Halloween 4 and 5. So obviously, any fans of the show, anybody that reads reviews knows that Cade and I are lifelong fans, and whether you want to call us nerds or fanatics, whatever, about the Halloween horror franchise. So try to be as brief as I can. Obviously, there's the original classic directed by John Carpenter, but ever since we were kids, one of Cade and I's favorite movies, really in any genre, I call it a desert island movie. If you were stranded like Tom Hanks in Castaway and you somehow had some batteries and a DVD player, I want Halloween 4 there with me. Halloween 4 is a fantastic movie. It's released in 1988. So for those of us that knew the 80s, it's a quintessential 80s slasher movie. There were many slasher movies made in the 80s. They're largely derivative. That's what makes them special with so many fans. You go back and see the same thing over and over again. Halloween 4 is a movie that was made very well technically. Cade mentioned earlier, Dwight Little directed it, Alan McElroy, or McElroy, I'm hoping I'm pronouncing his name.
I think it's McElroy.
McElroy, like Rory McElroy. He wrote the screenplay. You've got Daniel Harris, who's 10 or 11 years old, giving a great performance. You have the old Donald Pleasance giving a great performance as Dr. Loomis. And it's just a fantastic film. What separates it from so many of the other derivative slasher flicks is just so well made. It's so well written. It's so well shot. The cinematography is excellent, from opening scenes of just still photos, which it's supposed to be Illinois, but they shot it, I believe, largely outside of Salt Lake City, Utah. You can't tell if you don't know that. Yeah. Great performances, great atmosphere, great story. You see so many horror flicks, especially the franchise horror flicks, where it's like, how do we tie this back to the previous one? And they just don't give a shit. And they don't really need to, but in this case, they really tie Halloween 4 back to the end of Halloween 2. It's 10 years later. Michael Myers has been laying comatose in a basement in this federal sanitarium, and finds out that he has a niece played by the young Danielle Harris, who's unbelievable as far as like child actresses, unbelievable in a role as like a 10 or 11-year-old girl.
We're gonna talk tonight a little bit with our film tonight about child actors, because the film tonight has some really good performances by some young girls. One of them probably right around Danielle Harris's age in Halloween 4, but absolutely, Doctor, from cinematography, the performances, the screenplay, Alan Howarth's score. You know, he was brought up under the wing of John Carpenter. They did the score to Halloween 2 together, and then he went off and did Halloween 3 with Carpenter, and then this one he's all on his own with some reoccurring themes from. It just all sets the pace for a perfect Halloween movie night watching. Out of all the Halloweens, actually, Son's the first, obviously, the granddaddy of them all. For me, it really captures the spirit of small town Halloween better than any of them. And yeah, we always say you gotta care to scare. You gotta care about your characters, and they do a wonderful job with Ellie Cornell and Danielle Harris as the women in peril, and George Wilbur makes a phenomenal lurking shape
I'm glad you mentioned that, because that's he's one of the, sometimes when you're talking about Jason Voorhees and Michael Myers saying, hey, no, I'm sorry, man, Kane Hodder brings something as Jason Voorhees. George Wilbur, not to say anything less the other guys, he's a tall, broad-shouldered stuntman. He brings something to Myers, and just great supporting performances. Sasha Jensen, who people
Jensen's great, of Days
Confused. Bo Starr as Sheriff Meeker. Just all around I think I wrote when Cade and I did a retrospective on the Halloween films. I think I wrote in my Halloween 4 review how I just would love to just live repeatedly. If you could do a Groundhog Day movie scenario and just put me in Earl's bar, where these blue collar guys that work at the feed mill just come in and belly up to the bar to bitch about debt payments, and they're just blue cigarette smoke curling in the air, drinking their long necks before that's just such a great scene where before they run out onto the town with their shotguns, as the sheriff says, beer bellies with shotguns. Just a fantastic movie all the way around. And I think that as we get into, I know there's been some comments made about how we're still very much having summer days here in Texas, but as we get into fall, as we get into October, and the days get a little bit shorter, if you like horror movies, you just cannot go wrong with Halloween 4 on an autumn night, whether you want to do it like the doctor does and knock back 4 or 5 bourbons, or whether you just want to make yourself a big bucket of buttery popcorn and have a soda and watch that. You can't go wrong with that.
And you can put rum in that soda.
You can put rum in those sodas like the doctor. If you want to have a Sprite, because that goes good with the popcorn, you can put some gin or some vodka in that.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of options. Cade and I will answer your questions about that.
And I'll put the doctor's cocktail recipes in the liner notes on YouTube under the episode. That was Sprite and generous amount of gin.
Yeah, and I believe I also wrote in one of those Halloween reviews that when it gets to Halloween candy time, if you take a gin and tonic and drop one of those terrible candy corn things in it, then you have what's called a gin corny. I'm here all night.
This is content you're not going to get anywhere else, folks. Tut, what would you tell people to watch on Halloween night?
Oh my God. I literally should have gone last because I have nothing to contribute.
I'm going to move on to Yak Boy. Yak Boy, what would you tell people to watch?
Ouch.
Oh, I thought you really didn't have anything.
No, I've got 2 that I'm going to throw out.
Oh, okay.
Whoa.
But I'm not you guys. I'm not a big horror guy. I don't.
Well, if
I don't
someone
live this genre,
listening to the show or watching the show isn't either, what would you don't have to, you could just be like, man, these are 2 flicks that do it for me. Maybe they'll do it for you.
But the fun thing is that I love watching horror movies that you guys suggest. I love our March to Halloween because it forces me to get outside of my wheelhouse, watch these just terror-inducing films, and have nightmares about guys in bloody bunny suits like that houses that Halloween built. It's a movie I would never see, but I enjoy. I enjoy when you guys make me watch these stuff. But in terms of me, there's 2 things that I would say, and I'm not ashamed of the first one. It's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow by Disney. It's a 1960 something. It's Ichabod Crane and the old story. And to me, it marks my Halloween year. I watch it every single year. I own it and I love it. It is the story of the Headless Horseman. And to me, that is like one of the greatest Halloween figures of all time. And I just love it. Not only that, but the villain, Braun Bones, was so good that they rehashed him into the villain of Beauty and the Beast and Gaston. He's a straight ripoff of the Legend of Sleepy Hollow disc. Not only that, but Feswig's Halloween party that he has in his barn. I saw that as a young guy, and I was like, I want to do that. And that's the reason why I have a Halloween party every single year. And I invite everybody that I know because I saw that as a kid, and I'm like, I want to be that dude, and I want to invite people and enjoy that stuff. So I have a big Halloween party, and that's the reason why I love it. But in terms of like horror, like legit,
hold on before you give your second one, Doctor.
So You're talking about the animated one,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Okay.
the one with Bing Crosby who does
Right. Okay. So
Ichabod Crane.
right. So Bing Crosby is Ichabod Crane. That it wasn't the '60s, buddy. That goes back. I like that cartoon also. That goes back to about 1948.
Oh, sweet, even better.
I've never seen it.
Oh
It
man,
is a animated masterpiece. I know what he's talking about, and I do. In terms of just if you actually look at it for what it is, I mean, and the way they did it, it is a true masterpiece of creepiness of the macabre. I like it.
Okay, well, you know what? Maybe I'll take Tut's advice this Halloween, and I was gonna go to his Halloween party, but now I might just stay home and watch.
well, if you go to the Halloween party, I will have Headless Horse. I play it every year.
Do you play it on the TV?
Yeah. There's a TV where a lot of the younger kids gather around. And,
Yeah. Real quick, Tut, what's your second?
The second one for the legit horror thing. Like, all right, so what horror movie should I watch? Whatever. The original Halloween. There is no argument that can be made in my eye about any film being better because it all has ties back to the original Halloween. And I do like the original Nightmares. I do like the original Friday the 13th. Those scared the bejesus out of me. I'm a big Freddy Krueger fan.
Yeah.
But there's something special about Halloween. Even when I watched The Thing, and I actually thought about The Thing being a pretty good deal, but I wanted to keep it holiday specific.
If you want to be entrenched in the season, it doesn't get any better than Halloween.
There's nothing better. I mean, there's just nothing better.
Absolutely agree. Yeah, Yak Boy, what you got?
I thought about it, and I was like, I didn't know if at first you meant like, do you want me to just say like an actual like movie, like one of the Halloween movies? But then I said, no, throw that away. And I think about it, and I thought about it, and I basically said, the one thing that really got me, and I think was like, what was the one movie that just ate my own lunch? Event Horizon.
Oh God, yes.
And
a haunted house in space.
Well, haunted house in space, but Lovecraftian nightmare in space.
A little bit of everything, yeah.
And to this day, like you said, it has become a cult classic. But I remember it back in the day when I first saw it.
That very first viewing, that is like, oh, this is going to fuck your world.
Yes, and it's one of those where it's like, oh, and when I saw it, I was like, oh, this is just going to be a blah, blah, blah. And by the end of that, I'm like, this is some fucked up shit.
Thank you. I'm not the only one.
I mean, there were scenes where even I was like, what the fuck was that?
Yeah, no, that was a very inventive flick. The always wonderful Sam Neill in the starring role. If you wanted to make a Sam Neill Halloween double feature, you could pair it with In the Mouth of Madness. Certainly couldn't go wrong there. Also, some very Lovecraftian monsters and head fucks in the Mouth of Madness. One of the most talked about and maybe undervalued Carpenter flicks that a lot of people just don't seem to give a lot of attention to, which makes sense. I mean, he's done so many, but okay, good one, Yaks. I'm just gonna throw these two. I came up with something old and something new. The Doctor. This came up when I was talking to the Doctor the other day, and I actually haven't seen this movie in decades, and I'm going to watch it on Halloween night because I was trying to sell it to the Doctor. I ended up selling myself on revisiting it. 1981's The Fun House, which was really Tobe Hooper's first, after Texas Chainsaw Massacre and Eaten Alive, his first movie with an actual kind of budget. And it's exactly from the guy who made Texas Chainsaw Massacre. It's a movie about two young couples who decide to sneak in. There's a carnival that's in town, in their little town, and they do what a lot of young people think about doing, where they hide in the park till it closes, and then they snoop around. And it's that horror of being somewhere you're not supposed to be, for one, that you kind of remember as a kid, like when you were out either, toilet paper in houses or riding your bikes, sneak out of the house and riding your bikes alone at night. And you're just that feeling when you're a kid that you're somewhere you're not supposed to be, and how it gets your heart going. But then, of course, these two couples see some really unsettling, disturbing, horrific things in this carnival. It's my memory of it is a lot of fun, and it seems like, and I'm saying this again, I haven't seen it in so long, but I'm gonna be revisiting because it seems like it would hit a lot of great notes on Halloween. And then I'm gonna throw a little thing out there to a brand new movie that just dropped on Hulu. It's a Hulu exclusive. It's called No One Will Save You.
I've heard of it.
It is something that a genre of horror that I've never been attracted to, aliens. And the best thing I can say without giving anything away is, that scene in Shyamalan Signs where you just see the alien on that news footage, like they're watching the news and you see that alien walk, and it's so brief but so effective. It's like they took that as inspiration for this movie. It is just a flying saucer, legit flying saucers, gray aliens with the big heads and the typical eyes, the kind you see on the autopsy table and those horrible.
Yeah.
But
from the Mexican government.
Exactly. But this guy who made this film made it from a technical standpoint, from a screenwriting standpoint. It's basically told in real time, following one girl's experience, one young woman's experience with this alien invasion. I think since we're with her the whole film, I think she has maybe 5 lines of dialogue. It's mostly she lives by herself. It's all told visually, and she's a wonderful actress, and it's just a really creative movie with a lot of real tension and a lot of real suspense and some really, really good effects. From a guy who doesn't like alien movies, if you do like alien movies, I can't imagine you not loving this. So go over to Hulu and check out No One Will Save You. So there you go. There's TNCC's Halloween movie recommendations. I think there's a little bit of something in there for everybody. But it wouldn't be Halloween if we didn't specifically gather our forces to tell you the story of one movie. And for that movie this year, I picked 2019's Tailgate. It is written and directed by
Say it.
These names. All right, keep in mind, folks, this is a film that was shot in the Netherlands. We watched it with subtitles as the characters speak Dutch, obviously. The director and writer's name was Lodewijk Krims.
Ludwig Krims?
Actually, I believe the Dutch pronounce it with a hard I. I think it's Lodewijk or Lodewijk.
Lodewijk Krims.
That's exactly how they pronounce it.
I just say half the words that they say are like, oh. It sounds like they got a grape and stuck in the back of their throats.
Now,
you said that.
Yax, correct me if I'm wrong. Dutch, because you've taken some European trips. Dutch is very close to German because we both took German in high school, and it seemed like there was a lot of it that was very close to German.
I thought
there's ties. I mean, it has touches in the language to the Romance languages, so a lot of words can and do fit within that. But
I don't think anybody has described German as a Romance language.
Well, unfortunately, and there are words that German, French, Spanish, it's the same. But other words and other ways they describe things completely opposite.
Spanish, French, Portuguese, Italian. Those are your romance languages. German
and German
is not.
And German. You hate to be the bearer of bad news. And German.
To the doctor's point, the main bad guy who we'll meet very soon, when he spoke, not so much the other characters, but when he spoke to me, it sounded very German in his delivery. And I guess if I was a good podcaster, I would have looked it up. Maybe that dude is German.
I was actually kind of confused whether this was a Danish or German film.
And actually, the actor's name is the only one. His name, which is a great name, and I thought it should have been the character's name, is Willem de Wolf.
That's Dutch.
No, this character's name is Hans.
No. I'm talking about the bad guy.
Oh, okay.
Hold on, we're going to talk about Hans a lot. Okay, so I saw this movie. It's one of those times. The doctor and I joke about this. When I sit down and watch a movie, if I get out here in the Corner No Hope with a cigar, two things are going to happen. If I get out here at a reasonable hour, I'm either going to end up going through Prime and Tubi and adding 50 movies to my watch list and not watch anything that night, but just trailers and add things to my watch list. Or I'm going to be like, fuck it. I'm watching a movie tonight and I just pick something that just I know nothing about. It's usually not even on my watch list. I have a watch list that I never watch, but I'll just be like, all right, fuck it. I'm just going to hit play. And that's what happens. This is one of those movies. I didn't know it was subtitled in Dutch. I just read the synopsis and boom, hit play. I was like, I'll give it 10 minutes. If it doesn't get me, I'm out. It got me. And when I knew I originally tonight was going to do the 86, I think, Trick or Treat, starring Skippy from Family Ties, which is one of my favorite all-time horror movies. And it turns out it wasn't available forever to stream. It became available to stream, but now that they're releasing a 4K Blu-ray of it with a whole bunch of new footage and interviews with Ozzy Osbourne, Gene Simmons is in it. They pulled it, so you're going to want to see the new one. So unfortunately, we couldn't do. I hope we hang around long enough. Maybe our 10th Boorific Spectacular Drinking Bonanza, we'll end it with Trick or Treat because it's that damn good of a film. It mixes all of my favorite stuff: heavy metal, Satan, and Skippy from Family Ties. It completes the trifecta.
Oh, all your favorite things, Seth.
Come on, Ted, give it to me. What would we do, baby,
without love? What do we do, baby, without love?
Sha-da-la-la. Anywho, so I really dug this movie. So when I found out that Trick or Treat wasn't available, and then I went back to I did a very smart thing this year, which I've never done, I have done, but I hadn't done in a long time. I started a list on my phone of movies I watch. Every movie I've watched in 2023, I just add it to this list because I forget, and I could see something really cool, and then 3 months later, I'm completely blank on it. And what would happen is, like last year, I would come across a slasher movie from the 80s or something, and I'd be like, oh, this is cool. And I start watching it, and I'm like, 30 minutes in, I'm like, oh, I think I watched this a few months ago. So now I cross-reference this list. So I'm not going back over anything. But the minute I started looking at my list, what would be good for tonight's show, and I saw Tailgate, and I'm just like, oh, fuck yeah, that movie was perfect. So I guess I'll find out soon enough if you guys agree. Real quick, I'm about done with cigar. Got a few more puffs. I will give it this in the last third, some mineral and it kind of a little bit of creaminess started coming in the back end of that retro. The non barely existent pepper was still there, but I started getting some nice Nika mineral on there, playing with that leather and a little bit of creaminess, and then obviously the earthiness on the draw. And I was so happy that the cigar gave me a little something new right here at the very end.
I would definitely say there's an uptick in that mineral, but I would also say for me, I had an uptick in the pepper.
Just slightly.
Just slightly. But I mean it for me it definitely picked up. I'm like,
yeah.
And I'm down to almost nub level here.
Yeah, it's very smooth. It's very smooth. It was very enjoyable. It went good with the Oktoberfest. I really have enjoyed it with the rum. Tut, anything else?
No, I'm absolutely agreeing with you. The mineral uptakes in that last third, there is a punch up in the pepper. I wish that punch up in the pepper was present throughout like the halfway point forward, to where you got like the halfway point, you get that punch up in the pepper. The last third, you get the punch up in the mineral. If they were trying to blend a cigar that matches a Marzahn style beer, then well done, you did it. And the pairing is actually really good. It's one of the few pairings that I've had from a cigar provider. It's like, oh, we paired it with this, and you're gonna love it with this. That actually paid off. I mean, there's a nice little play in the flavors there that is actually really well done. I do wish that the pepper was a little bit more forward present, but that is a pleasant cigar.
You guys want to guess price point?
Not really.
It's a yearly release. You know what? We got a movie to get to. I'm just going to tell you, it's $10.
Oh shit!
That's a good price.
Yeah, it is.
I was gonna do $8.50, but
I was actually going to do my standard like 13 something, but no, this is great.
No, this is $10. Well, these were submitted to us for review by JC Newman. You can go right now to famoussmokeshop.com, and while they don't, as of today, have the Bricktoberfest edition, they do have all of the other brick houses, including the Connecticut's. You can go there and grab a box or a sampler of Brick House cigars, and by using promo code TNCC20, you'll get $20 off your purchase of $100 or more. That is the best promo code in the business, folks.
Hell yeah.
Hey, that promo code will have you shitting bricks. All right.
Yeah.
So Tailgate, after sitting through the opening logos of at least 47 different production companies that it took to make this movie,
like always now.
Oh my God, there was a lot. The movie finally starts after about 2 minutes of those, and it starts with a bang. We drop in on a bicyclist who's being stalked by a madman in a white van. Yax, what are those vans called? That style of van that workers drive around? It's like the taller. It's a skinnier van.
I just call it a work van.
It's a work van. It's literally the only windows are the windshield and the passenger and driver window, and then the rest is just kind of a taller, more slender.
But it's not like a 1970s van. I mean,
no,
it's like a
no. I mean that
it's like the type
this
of
is literally. It's just like
it's like the cable guy. It's like the cable guy up to your house in. Only there's no logos on it. It's just all white.
Yeah,
van.
I think that's the beauty of it. That comes into it later on in the flick. Is it could be delivering mail. It could be an ambulance. It could be anything, really.
Yeah, the van really becomes a character in and of itself as the film goes on. Well, this bicyclist is walking his bike across this giant, vast, empty, plowed field as this guy in a van is stalking him. And when he sees the madman up ahead on the road, he turns around with it. First, he tries to ride his bike in the dirt, and then he's like, he picks it up and he starts walking with it again. And finally, he thinks he's gone far enough. He doesn't see the guy in the van anymore, so he gets back on the road and starts bicycling. This is like a 10-speed, he's got the tights on. He's like a real.
He's like a real biker,
enthusiast, bicyclist. And then out of nowhere, the psychopath smashes into him with his white van, the guy gets thrown down into this creek where the madman puts on a white hazmat suit, and he goes down to the creek and he shoves, like the weed eater sprayers that you pump and you spray. He's got these huge industrial ones that he wears on his back, and he pumps them up, and then he has these huge sprayers and he shoves it down the guy's throat and fills the dude with acid. I think you guys know where I'm going with this. Stupid bicyclists. Am I right? Just drive a car already.
Don't share the road.
I don't think that was the intention here, but
did it remind you of Kingpin? You loser! He's like, that's why you don't even have a car.
I'm just saying, the guy had a car. Maybe maybe still be alive. Let's take a second. We talked about the van. Let's take a second to talk about the look of the killer, because this is something I really can't stress enough. The white hazmat suit with the gas mask, the silver tank on his back with his different spraying nozzles, the yellow kind of apron he wears, and the bright white, pristine rubber boots. I watch a lot of horror movies, a lot of slasher movies, and I bitch constantly to the doctor. I'll be like, you know what? I watched a good one the other night. The only problem is they put this shitty ass mask on this killer. And it's like, if you had spent just a week to come up with an original look for your killer, you had a good story, you filmed it good, it had good kills, and the killer was actually creepy, but you didn't give him a look. You didn't give him a signature slasher personality from a visual standpoint. Myers has the Myers mask. Jason has a hockey mask. Leatherface wears human skin. This guy immediately reminds me of Harry Warden in My Bloody Valentine, a classic slasher. Yep. They gave this dude a look that makes me want to buy a collectible action figure of him and put him on this shelf behind me with other great, memorable looking slashers. I love that they actually gave this guy a costume to wear. It's not the most original, but it works so well. To me, so many films fail at that early stage because they don't put any thought into the physical appearance of the slasher, and this film did not make that mistake. Do you agree, Doctor?
I agree. I also thought it's interesting because although he's a big, tall guy, he's a middle-aged guy. It looks like he's well into his
early 50s, maybe mid 50s.
And what I thought, because he does, it's a great costume. He doesn't wear it very often.
No, he just puts it on when it's go time.
Looking at the guy, he made me think like, if the killer from the Chuck Norris movie Silent Rage was 55 years old, that's what he would look like.
I thought he kind of reminded me of like who's the dude? Because he kind of had this when he
from How I Met Your Mother, Jason Vogel or whatever.
No, I thought
he was an older version of that dude, the guy who plays the lawyer from How I Met Your Mother.
Well,
almost.
I've never seen that. He reminded me because most of the film he's wearing just slacks and a sweater with a dress shirt under it. Is well-dressed guy, very well presented. He kind of reminded me of was it Lazenby, the Bond from Her Majesty's Secret Service that did the one. He just kind of had that air of like a European kind of. He looked like he was out of the early 70s.
I want to come at this from a different take. And I appreciate what you're saying about having your killer have a unique look. And I agree with you that is important. But when I actually had to watch this in 2 sittings. The very first time, because you had mentioned this movie to me like months ago, and I started to watch it, but I wasn't in the right frame of mind to process it. So I got through all of this opening scene with him killing the biker, and I just turned it off, and I was like, I'm not in the mood. There was something about it that I just wasn't in the mood to process right then. So when I sat down and watched it, yesterday or 2 days ago, can't remember, but I started from right there. So I didn't even remember the bike scene until you just went through it right then.
Oh, okay.
So I didn't for most of the movie. He's not in his pesticide guard. He's just a night. He's just a 50-year-old dude.
I would put
And to
I would
me,
put him closer to 60, but
Yeah.
okay, 60. To me, that makes it even more special, and I'll get into it as we go through the deal. There's something special about this guy
that's
that
very interesting to watch it from the perspective of, well, on the one hand, I'm like, come on, Tut, you got to start the movie over for God's sake. But then when you put it that way, it's like it almost would be a very different perception if you don't see that opening scene.
there's not that iconic here's your killer
Yeah.
go. It is literally like my opening scene was the guy getting his family ready to go.
Interesting.
Well, I'm going to say for me, after, completing it, I was like, I felt that the whole bike scene in the beginning was just, it kind of ruined the rest of the movie.
No, the more I'm thinking about it, by the second, since you said, I'm trying to process it as quickly as I can. I kind of agree with you, Yax. I'm kind of thinking if you just started it where you don't know what this guy's capable of, think how scary that would be when he first puts that shit on and you haven't seen it before.
Or you haven't seen anything, but the first thing he does is grab the cell phone from the dude.
Okay, well, you know what? I don't get too far ahead of ourselves, but
he literally, they in 3-4 minutes, however long that opening scene was, basically just outlined the entire movie. And I was like,
that's really, those are very, very valid points that I hadn't thought about. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah. So we'll circle back around on that. Doctor, any thought? I see you kind of pontificating down there.
Actually, well, I did have a thought, but when you said something about if this was a better way to experience the movie, that kind of made me start thinking, like, everybody's different. Everybody experiences it in a different way. I almost don't know if you can go back and just say, if you enjoyed the film, well, you're right, this would have been a better way to experience it if you enjoyed it. There's just something about that statement, which philosophically I was going to dive into it, not now, but I wanted to think more about that.
Okay. Well, hey, let's definitely circle back around. The first time,
just real quick.
Yeah.
Because this is about what Yax and Todd have said. I used to think that way. And if you go back, and this movie's over 10 years old now, so I'm not really giving a spoiler alert away. But in the slasher flick You're Next, the poster is like a guy wearing an animal mask, and it turns out there's more than one killer. You know that from pretty early on. But at some point, about halfway through that film, they take their masks off.
Yeah.
And they are just, and not, instead of being even a deformed, we all know there's a man underneath it, but instead of being like a deformed, Jason Voorhees or a mute Michael Myers or whatever, it's a normal walking, talking dude underneath the mask. And I felt like that limited some of the effectiveness when I saw that picture. Now that came out in like 2011, 2012. I would have agreed with you guys then. Now, the world's so crazy that just knowing that this guy is the killer doesn't make it any less fearful of an experience for me as a viewer anymore.
Okay, that's a good point. Yeah, and honestly, that kind of blew that movie for me. The minute I've got a face behind the mask, if they're trying to make a slasher, I'm just kind of like, why'd you wear the mask in the first place? I guess I'm a traditionalist with my slasher movies.
Get off my lawn.
In that flick, they did it at about the halfway point. Here, here at least they're doing it right away from the beginning. And that one, they kind of try to do traditional slasher, and then 50% of the way through take it off. Here, it's from the get-go. I appreciate what Yax and Tudd are saying, and that makes sense. It just, for me, because the person next to you can be a raving psycho when you're online in the grocery store, it didn't make it any less frightening.
That's a good point. Okay. Well, after that scene, the big title card comes on, Blumper Keef, and I'm like, oh man, what a horrible name for anything but that name. So next we meet a family of four: Hans, the father; Diana, the mother; Milou and Robin, the two little kids. I'm guessing from there maybe 11 and 6-ish. Two adorable little girls, little Dutch girls. Nobody in this movie was wearing wooden shoes. What's that about?
I don't think they do that.
Traditional thing they wear occasionally.
Oh, okay.
They didn't live in a windmill either, so
That would have been funny if they lived in a windmill.
Excuse me, I got to go outside and feed my horse.
All right. It was funny, to Tut's point, when you always hear those stories when you travel and say you're from Texas, that people have these crazy notions, and you would think in 2000 something it would not be so much. I mean, we got major cities and sport teams,
the
internet, but when I first moved to Canada, I was settling in at what would quickly become my second home, the Lion and the Leprechaun pub, and this dude that I was with introduced me to this guy. He's like, "Yes, my buddy Matt. He's from Texas." I was like, "Oh, Texas, eh?" He's like, straight, like not even like a joke, just straight up. "Hey, you know that Walker Texas Ranger?" I'm like, "What?" Like, that's not even that's like a TV like you have to understand TV shows up here. Like,
no, Hoser, the guy.
Do you mean played it for all it was worth, man? You should have been like, "Yeah, he and I have worked on some major cases together."
I was thinking, like, do you mean like Chuck Norris? Like, because that's a real person. That's
why I was up here in Canada. I was working on a high-profile public corruption case with my buddy Texas Walker Ranger.
There was a Colombian drug lord, Estevez, that was bringing in kilos across the border. Me and Walker got in too deep, too fast.
But we walked out, not a scratch.
That's all you had to say was that out there. You probably would have never paid for a drink the whole time you were there.
They took Trevette hostage. Next thing I know, I'm up to my ass and my elbows and dead Mexicans. No, I didn't say any of that. I just roundhouse kicked the dude in the face. But it turned out he was a hockey player, so he beat the shit out of him. Because I remembered I don't know how to roundhouse kick people. It was a terrible night. But you know what? At the end of it, that's the thing about Canada. Those dudes get in fights, and then like they're drinking and throwing darts together 20 minutes later. They can't help it. They're just such good people. They can't help it.
That's because there's nothing to do there except for fight and get drunk.
I'm picturing Cade on this stool at a bar, attempting to do a roundhouse kick and just flying off of it, landing on the floor.
You're not completely inaccurate.
And the dude comes out in his Calgary Stampeders hockey shirt and goes, "I'm afraid that's not proper etiquette, eh?" And he starts pounding.
I'm really sorry about this.
Sorry about this. Hey, buddy, have a Molson.
Well, that didn't make it any better because I threw that line at him thinking I'd be a badass. "Sorry to do this to you." Yeah. Yeah, I pulled my hamstring. Oh, God. Can I get a bag of ice? Or what do you
pull more than that, buddy?
What do you guys call it up here? Oos? Can I get a bag of oos? No, we call it ice, asshole.
We call it ice, oos hole.
We call it ice, oos hole. Hey, another round.
I never thought that we would have Canadians pissed off at us. I thought they were like the one country left in the world that we haven't offended, and now we just blew it.
Hey, another round of Moosehead Ultralights for me and my friends.
I'll take this dumboose in the back and patch him up.
Last thing I'll say about my pub days in Canada. I felt because I was always growing up, all I drank was malt liquor. And up there, you have to go to the beer store to get any kind of booze. They don't sell at grocery stores, convenience stores. You got to go to the beer store. It's a nationally run thing where you got to go there. And I was so sick of Labatt and Moosehead and what's the one with the leaf on it? Yaks.
Molson.
So I went to the beer store and with this, my steward there who was taking care of me, I'm like, hey, what is this over here in the corner? And he's like, oh, we don't drink that, eh? And I'm like, why not? And he's like, just don't worry about it, eh? Just keep moving, eh? And I'm like, no, I want that. What is that? Dude, it was Labatt Wildcat. And it had this angry like leopard on it, baring its fangs. And it was basically Canadian malt liquor. It was like an 8 or 9% Labatt. And I'm like, dude, that's what I want. That's what I'm used to drinking. I want to buy that. And he was so embarrassed, like, dude, we don't. I'll wait for you out in the car, eh?
Dude, was it just like stacked up in the corner, like collect, cobwebs and dust over it? Like,
I lived there 2 years. I never met another person who drank Labatt Wildcat. And occasionally we'd have to like go to something where it's like BYOB, and I would bring my Labatt Wildcat, and they would just look at me like I would, and he would try to like, he's from Texas, eh? He doesn't know. I'm like, no. I was like, motherfucker, I've been up here for a year. I know what I'm doing. I'm owning this.
This is intentional.
And I'm sorry,
but I have to ask the question: you don't make something that doesn't sell.
That was my point. I was like, dude, I just got here. They're not making this for me.
And as soon as Kate turns his back, they're all a typical American ooshole.
I think that was probably said on more than one occasion. I could be wrong. But anywho, boy, that was a little segue there. But so we're with Hans, Diana, and their kids, Milou and Robin. And they're on their way to an overnight visit to Grandma's house. Boys, would you agree that Hans is a little high strung?
A little bit.
Yeah, he's
just a tiny bit. But I don't know much about the Danes, so I don't know if that's normal or not.
Well, I looked it up, and in Danish culture, he's what's referred to as a temperamental dickhead.
Yeah.
Jump in here, buddy.
Yeah.
The Dutch are not Danes.
Oh, boy.
Denmark are the Danes.
It's all the same, right?
Pretty much.
Are they close by each other?
I mean, you've been to Europe, for Christ's sake. Yeah, I mean, there's what the hell? I'm telling you this shit.
I always have a problem because Europe, I'm like, people are like, oh my God, that's so far away. I'm like, how far away is it? And they're like, it's like 10 kilometers. I'm like, 10 kilometers? I travel farther than that to go have lunch.
Denmark is part of Scandinavia, right? Norway, Sweden.
Sweden. Yeah.
I think it's considered a Scandinavia. I believe it's across the North Sea from Germany.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
I thought Yaks would help me out here, but I just remembered you're in Germany. You're drunk the whole time you're there.
This
so
isn't working.
I'm sorry. It's kind of a given that you can just be drunk in Germany, and that's completely normal.
you know what? I'm going to pull a Bill Belichick. This isn't working. We're moving on to Thanksgiving. We're going to move on to Thanksgiving episode. This isn't working. Moving on to Thanksgiving.
I just, Tuck said the Canadians were mad at us now. I thought I would maybe try and save the Danes, but you know what? Hey, I'm just going to get another beer and you can all kiss my oos.
Sorry about that. Sorry.
So sorry. Well, Hans is constantly criticizing his wife, Diana. He's screaming at his kids in the back seat, which, by the way, those little kids are incredibly believable with their chemistry together.
They actually are.
Which is very rare. We've talked about horrible kid actors on this podcast for 9 years. These two kids are naturals and will only experience that more as the movie goes on. But
I was also flipping through between the voice acted voiceovers, the English dub, and the natural language with subtitles.
Oh, I didn't even see that there was an English dub.
Yeah, I tried it out and it was horrible. I mean, it was literally like, it was almost like the voiceover Pee Wee Herman in Pee Wee's Big Adventure. And it was like, how are you doing? Yeah, and it was just
Hans.
The girls were really annoying in the voiceover, and then I was like, and then the voices were just lackluster, so I switched it back to natural language with subtitles.
Okay, good.
That way you could get the actors' actual input in on it.
Oh, I think that's
yeah. The girls were really natural when it came to it.
Yeah, and to you folks at home, if you're going to watch this thing, God, do the subtitle version. It is first of all, there's not a lot of dialogue in it to keep track. It's a very visually stimulated movie, but yeah, I can't imagine trying to listen to American. Did they have like really annoying little voices like "Mommy, Daddy"?
Yeah.
Oh God, that'd be terrible. I couldn't do that. Ugh.
And let's be honest too, unless you're talking about 1970s kung fu movies where the dub is part of the charm, if you're going to watch foreign films, you read the subtitles.
Correct. I'm 100 on board with that. But having called this dude Hans out to a certain extent, as a father of two daughters around these girls' ages, I kind of understood his mentality on this, trying to get him out of the house and going in the car. When my two Rugrats,
that's what the whole tie-in was with this film. I thought it was just going to be to sympathize with you after.
when my two little Rugrats are going at each other and highway traffic is nuts, the wife is helping you out by constantly telling you you're in the wrong lane. Like you've never driven a fucking car before.
As my wife says, I'm just offering you a smorgasbord of ideas.
I'm just saying that sometimes in those situations, words can be said that and loudly said that can't be taken back so easily. I would assume. I don't know anything about it personally. I'm not Hans. But
hey, brother, get it off your chest.
I just think this filmmaker fucking nailed it as far as the kids hitting each other, trying to steal the tablet from each other. No matter what lane this dude gets in, the wife's like, you want to get in that lane? I'm like, oh, this. I'm so with you, dude, Hans. But I keep my shit together, obviously. Well, sure enough, they're not on the road long before they find themselves stuck behind the psycho van, that white van from the opening scene that's creeping along in the fast lane, dragging traffic to a halt. So, major highway there's two lanes. And everybody is backed up behind this white van creeping along. And it's not like a white Chevy van like we're used to associate. Yak Boy, do you know what kind of shoes pedophiles wear?
No.
White Vans. My daughter told me that joke. Okay, but he's holding up the whole fucking highway of traffic. You got semis in the right lane and this dude holding everybody back. The tall, handsome, dare I say, avuncular older man driving the van, by the way, oh my God, this character name? Ongendir Turverderolgered. That's catchy.
Here to Fortefina, here to Fortefina.
According to the credits, that's the character's name. Ongendir Turverderolgered.
Just go ahead and add the Dutch as well.
Bort.
Well, dude, I think the actor's name, the actor's name is Willem de Wolf, which that would have been a cool name for the killer. Just give him that name. Well, anyway, I would have much preferred if they had given. Hey, if he's going to be a slasher, and this is the Netherlands' first stab at creating a cultural slasher icon for horror films, I was thinking. I got two of them. The sprayer, because he likes to spray people with that sprayer, or the Rotterdam Roadster. What do you think?
Yeah, the Rotterdam Roadster's awful.
The sprayer.
That can be interpreted different ways.
Well, you know what, Doctor? I looked up the sprayer to see if it had ever been used in a movie before, and it just led me to some Pornhub videos. So that took up like 15, 20 minutes of my day, and then I moved on.
2 hours.
Don't Google the sprayer videos. I beg of you. Tense road scenes featuring a few near miss crashes. Hans is constantly, dude, you got a wife. Get around this guy. Can't right now. There's like semis all over the place. Like, can't you get around this guy? Like,
actually, my wife would be telling me not to get around him, and I would be the one being like, "No, we got to get around this guy, honey. Yeah. You don't want to follow behind this guy."
No, your wife's like, "Why are you in the middle lane? You got a death wish? I'd like to get there alive."
I'm going to get us there in perfect time, baby.
But dude, he's trying to get around this car. He's honking. Everybody's honking at Hans. He finally gets around the white van, and as he passes him, he looks in at this dude, and this guy's probably about 60. Very well dressed, little collared shirt and a sweater. And Hans, I guess this is a Netherlands thing. Maybe they don't even know what the middle finger is. He just think, if you're going to get in this lane, think about what you're doing. He just kind of taps his head. That's not that bad.
No.
And like that, or did he kind of make like a?
No, he just
he did kind of like that type of thing. He did.
In Europe, is that a fuck you?
It could be.
Okay. Well,
I will say that Angder Beecher Ed successfully brake checked him a couple of times.
He did. He almost and the cinematography of the driving, like especially when he braked and they almost smashed through it. Didn't his daughter have her seatbelt off and like she smashed into the seat? Like it was good. It was pretty. It was a really stressful scene to watch. But he finally gets around the guy. Hits the gas, leaves him in the dust, and then he exits to a convenience store to get some gas and take a piss. And when he comes out of the restroom, I'm going to call this guy the sprayer because I'm not going to say, I mean, I can't do that all night. I just can't.
How about you just say Ed?
No, I'm calling him the sprayer, and you guys can't stop me.
Oh no, I can't stop you.
The sprayer is standing there in the convenience store telling Hans's two daughters a terrifying nature fact about rats killing their young, about how they drown them on purpose so they can walk over their dead bodies to cross waterways. The sprayer then lectures Hans on his driving. So Hans pushes the giant. This dude's about the doctors. What, about 6'4", maybe? Maybe taller.
Pretty big, broad-shouldered guy. Yeah, he's a tall, kind of hulking dude.
Very thin and lean, but he's at least 6'5", I would say. So Hans pushes the guy in the chest a few times, and when he tells Hans he should apologize so you can get on the road safely, huh? Well, he's speaking his. I don't know why I tried that. He was speaking a different language. Hans tells him to fuck off and worry about his own speed limits.
American style.
Yeah. You worry about your own goddamn speed limits. I'll worry about mine.
And in Hans's defense, I mean, the guy was fucking blocking traffic.
Well, dude.
You can't be over in the left-hand lane driving 30, blocking traffic.
No, dude. I think the guy was actually driving the speed limit in the fast lane, and that's what was pissing everybody off. It's like it's a passing lane only. But in his mind, we'll learn there's rules, and you should stick to those traffic rules. He was going the speed limit. There was no need for anyone to be upset with him.
All right, question for everyone here.
Yeah.
We're all dudes. Most of us know that there's, I know everybody here is, not a violent person. You think you can protect yourself, though, if you need to. You're having a bad day. You're on the road. You beep your horn at somebody. couple miles down the road, half hour later, even whatever it is, you're in the convenience store. You have this happen to you. I've said it 100 times, right, Cade? And you inject horror films working if you inject yourself into it. Here you are. This dude comes up to you. In Cade's case, maybe he's seeming kind of threatening towards his daughters. One of us, maybe, obviously not the case, but the dude says to you to apologize. And all of us are thinking, fuck you. But the guy says, so you can get back on the road safely.
Yeah.
You're going to maintain being the macho dude, or are you just going to say, or is something going to click for you? Just go, you know what, sir? I'm sorry. You have a nice day.
What's yours? What are you doing?
Admittedly, everything's easier to say after watching the movie. But I think at the age that I am 20 years ago, maybe I would have said something differently, maybe even 10. But now I think if somebody says something like that to me, I'm going, you know what, sir, I don't want any trouble. I'm sorry. I think I'm doing that. You never know what you're going to do until you're in the situation, but I think I'm doing that.
I will preface my answer on, I will put myself in Hans' wooden shoes. If I've got my wife and my two precious little girls with me, because Hans's thing is he doesn't want to look weak in front of his family, and we'll get to that later. That's very big on him. He doesn't want to look like a pussy in front of his family. And if I was alone and I'm in a 7-Eleven convenience store and some 6'6" weirdo in a sweater comes up to me and tells me I need to apologize to him for honking at him back on the road. If I want to get
back on the road safely.
If I want to get back on the road safely, if I've got my wife and two girls with me, and if I'm away from my home base, they're at this point, they're out of their hometown. They're on the driving through the countryside, although it's not like deserted. There's plenty of traffic. They're in a public convenience store. I think at this age, I'm with you, Doctor. It's very it changes by the decades. I think I would say whatever I had to say to diffuse the situation. Now, if that same thing had happened probably in my 20s or 30s.
Oh God! I'm going like, fuck you, get away from me or I'll break your fucking leg.
But also, I'm trying to also factor in Hans was already so fucking worked up about being late to his grandma, to his mom's house. And he was so already worked up about everything. He was bitching at everybody. It almost would have been uncharacteristic for him to be like,
to apologize. Yeah.
All right, man, I'm sorry. Why are you giving this guy the grace that you can't give your own family who's out in the car?
Yeah, because Hans is borderline an unlikable character right now because he is so wound up and just getting on everybody. That I'm just kind of like, all right, I understand, but you're kind of being a dick to everybody.
And that's going to be
you're walking that line,
Doc. That's going to be a delicate balance with Hans moving forward too, which is it's an interesting tightrope walk this character does.
My trigger was when he was talking. If I come around that corner and I see this dude talking to, my wife, and he's telling her scary stories and stuff like that about that.
Right.
I don't know what I would do because the rational side in me would be like, you know what, sir? It's all cool. I'm sorry. Let's have a nice day. Be about our way. But at the same time, I'm like, don't you fucking threaten my wife. Don't you fucking threaten me either.
Oh,
but I would probably be sneaky enough to be like, yes, let's get about our way. Let's get about our way. Honey, can you go get in the car? And I'm walking by and I'm slashing that fucking dude's tires.
He wasn't telling threats, right? And I believe at that point, Hans is.
Oh, he's telling a nature story about drowning rat kids.
My whole point was I wasn't discussing like whether or not it's in line with Hans's character or not. I'm just saying like you guys personally, because I always say if you're into a horror movie, you're putting yourself in there. What are you doing in that?
I absolutely, doctor, put myself in that moment with Hans in the convenience store, and I would have said whatever I need to say, but I also would have done the Hans thing, like get the wife and the kids out first. You know what, babe, get out of here. I got something to take care of. As soon as they're out, I'm like, I'm very sorry. Can I buy you a big gulp? Just
I'm not offering the big gulp. I'm just saying I would have been like, don't want trouble. I'm sorry. And just hopefully we leave it at that.
Yak boy, would you have apologized and made all this go away, or would you have stood your ground?
Yaks is the only one with a dick. He's kicking the dude's ass.
Well, plus Yaks is carrying a gun on him.
Well, yeah,
that helps.
The whole premise of this movie is like lost on me. Like, why is he running? What is he supposed to be scared of? There's so many things in here. I'm like, I would have literally just been like, oh, is that so? Hey, is this beef jerky? Just stabbing the dude in the neck with it.
And again, I didn't see the kill. I didn't remember the kill scene. All I know is it's a big, gigantic dude who's acting creepy.
Okay, that's true. You have to keep that perspective in mind with Todd, that he doesn't know that this guy kills random people on the road.
We don't know that hypothetically.
Yeah.
Well, look,
and Hans doesn't know that either. So I mean, I could
to be fair,
the dude's just being a driving asshole.
He's got like prison neck tattoos and just like, okay, this guy looks like he's ready to go back to serving hard time. So, but this guy, there's no way. It's like,
no, this guy looks like Jacques Cousteau. Like he just looks like this very like he lives in a lighthouse, for God's sake. Like
he didn't wear a beanie. It's fine.
No, but he looked he looked very European and very suave and okay, well, they get back on the road. When they get back in the car, I almost thought for a second Hans was going to go back in there and try to fight the guy, because the mom and the girls got hamburgers in the thing, and the girls weren't eating it. And Hans is like, why aren't you eating your goddamn hamburgers? And the kids are like, the man said, ask mom why she bought us this this trash. It was going to give us cancer and we were going to die. And he's like, he fucking said that? He told you you're going to die of cancer? And I thought for a second Hans was going to go back in there. But then he was like, nah, fuck it. You got to get to his mom's house. So they get back on the road, and Hans notices soon that the van is following them again as they near Granny's house. The kids notice too. He's watching the rear view. They're turned around in their seats looking. The only one that's clueless is mom. She's chowing down on her burger. But when she realizes why Hans is, because he's running red lights, he's squealing around like he's driving like a goddamn maniac. When she finally realizes, because the kids tell her finally that the man's following her, she gets super pissed at Hans, which always helps in a stressful situation. You know what? Things aren't bad enough. Babe, why don't you lay on to me a little bit?
In her defense, Hans acting kind of like a dick.
I know. I just, that always helps the situation. Well, Hans exits and pulls over, and so does the white van on kind of a secluded little street off the highway. The sprayer, once again, Hans walks over to the van, and the sprayer demands an apology, and Hans isn't giving it. I don't have to apologize to you. You're not the king of the roads. You don't make, I don't have to. I'm living my life, man. You live your life. And the stoic, crazy fucker reaches. He's like, call the police. The sprayer tells Hans, call the police. And he's like, you call the police. And he's like, you call him. He's like, you must be in some kind of trouble if you won't call the cops. Fine, I'll call him. So he's calling him, and all of a sudden the sprayer grabs his hand through the window and starts just breaking the guy's bones.
Well, you see the actual, like, the blood vessels in his eyes start breaking. So the craziness comes out.
Dude, there's this close-up of the sprayer's eyeballs, and the veins, like, get fire red, and he just breaks fucking Hans's hand. And the next thing you know, Diana looks back to see what's going on, and Hans is halfway into the van. Like, his legs are kicking out the window, trying to wrestle his phone back from the sprayer. Man, the tension between those two men as Diana and the kids were watching terrified in their station wagon, I thought it was really good stuff. Like they're watching him. They're like, he wouldn't let her call the cops. It's just builds and builds and builds.
One of the things I noticed during that build up scene is that they shot it like, you're used to a normal size close up, but they went like a couple of inches further in and got even tighter on their faces. Not tight enough that it made it feel awkward, like something was too wrong or something was misshot, but they just went a little bit too tight, and it worked because to me it made me uneasy, and I was just like, and then plus you've got the kids actually in the car, so they're in the line of fire.
Yeah.
And the whole thing just started making me, to me, that added a degree of difficulty and just made it a little bit more uneasy to watch than if it was just going after Hans and his wife.
I wondered if that, because I certainly felt it having two little girls, but I wondered in another slasher film if it was just some teenagers that approach this guy, and it's just a station wagon full of horny college kids watching all this go down. But the fact that it was a mom and these two little kids kind of in the mix, to me, it definitely added a layer of anxiety to it. Tut, that's interesting that it worked for you too.
And keep in mind, I don't really like Hans. To me, he's not a likable character. But it still made me uneasy because, you don't want to see anything happen to the girls. And at this point, I don't know, there's a mind, and there's this thing in the back of my mind saying, American horror movies don't go after the kids that usually like that, but the Europeans do.
I don't know anything about Netherlands horror movies. Oh my God. Well, hey, speaking of Diana, she eventually has to get out of the car and run back to the van and literally pull Hans out by his legs out of the van. She pulls his pants and underwear off. The dude's laying on the ground with his junk hanging out.
It was actually a fun scene.
She falls down on the ground right as a car, great shot. This car almost runs her head over before it stops, screeches over and stops. This dude gets out. Everything okay? Like, now this is where you get into the American horror thing of like, man, I would tell this guy that this psycho's following you and you needed cops and he's got your phone, but they're like, no, go ahead. I guess it's the Netherlands. Everybody doesn't want to bother anybody. No, we'll be fine. Just go on about your way. That fed up beyond her limit, she grabs Hans and she's like, just apologize and get your phone back. And he looks back at the car at the kids, and then that's with the line, I promise I won't tell anyone, she says. Like, he just doesn't want anybody to know that he's given into this dude. She's like, I won't tell anybody that you apologized. So he goes back and he apologizes. Only the sprayer informs Hans the time for apologies has passed. And just like that, he gets out the other side of the van, straps on his metal spray tank, and starts squirting the family with acid as they struggle to get back in their car and drive away. Dude, it's a tense ass fucking scene. Hans is trying to get his phone through the window while this dude's pumping up his spray thing and putting on all these crazy clothes. Dude, this is where Tut's not having seen the opening. I'm like, if I didn't see him wear this shit in the opening scene and use that sprayer,
it's a great buildup, man.
Would this have been like just like a what the fuck is this dude doing? I almost think you're right. I think it would have been better without the opening scene. Like, you just fuck with the wrong guy in the road, and all of a sudden,
just some grandpa dude. I mean,
at this point, I'm with you, Tut. Axe that opening scene, but that we'll see. Doctor, did all this tension building stuff with Hans and the sprayer work for you? Were you?
Yeah, absolutely. I disagree on for me, the opening scene doesn't reduce any of that for me at all.
I would just like to have experienced that where, like Tut, where, because Hans is trying to see what the guy's doing in the van, and he just hears the spray pump, and like we know what he's doing because we saw him wear that shit in the opening, but Tut didn't know. I don't know. I guess you can't have it both ways.
I thought it was still extremely tense, even knowing what had happened.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, and to Doc's point, I mean, if it works for you, that's the great. I mean, that's a good thing. And, just it doesn't have to be one way or the other, or one way's better.
Yeah.
I mean, my way is better, but Doc was cool with seeing everything in the front. I'm not going to take that away from Doc.
I said your way was better for now. I'm going to reserve my judgment till Blumper Cleef is over. So the family pulls over a short bit down the road. Not even that. They drive like 50 yards down the road and stop because he got him with that acid and he sprayed in their car. Things are smoking. They run into the woods to rinse the girl's eyes out in a stream. And when they get back in the car, it's stuck in the mud, and the sprayer has now driven up to meet them. He's parked in front of them, blocking them in. And now he's suiting up. He just had the spray earlier. Now he's putting on the full
thing.
Dude, the tires, she's driving, the tires are spinning mud. Hans has to get out and try to push the car as the sprayer's taking his sweet time getting all his gear on. The kids are screaming their fucking heads off. Fuck that scene. That scene with the car trying to get out of the mud and the sprayer gear, that to me was perfection.
No, that was good.
That's what I want in a horror movie is a scene like that.
Also, there's something creepy and, in retrospect, Voorhees and Myers-esque about the fact that he's not hurrying.
Yeah.
Like you said, he just gets out and methodically. He's not deliberately going slow. He's not hurrying into it. He's just methodically putting on his uniform. There's something about that that's creepy.
There is. Yeah. And that always is appreciated in a good slasher. They run, he walks, and at a certain point in Jason and Michael, you're like, all right, in real life, it would take him about 2 days to catch up to these people. But that shows you just kind of this movie pulled it off. Like they made this dude casual as fuck about his business, but at no point was I like, oh, this guy should be speeding up. Like it worked.
Yeah.
It really worked. He was basically a slasher with a face and a voice. He's a slasher who has a normal face and talks, but when it's go time, he puts on his slasher stuff and slashes people or sprays people. Sorry.
Sprays people.
It's the sprayer.
Technically, I looked it up. He's an exterminator.
How do you know that?
Because I looked up what the long word was. He's an exterminator.
Oh, the gookie. That means exterminator?
I don't think you pronounce it that way, and if you do, I don't think you do it in such a I don't think that's how you say it.
I was like, what does that mean? Because it's like a really long word, but it's basically like vermin killer.
Well, see, that just ruined it for me because I don't want him to be an exterminator. I want him to just be a weirdo driving around with tanks of chemicals and acid in his thing.
Well, that makes no sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what he does. That's what he does.
Well,
that's like saying Jason's on an amateur hockey team.
That's like saying Michael is the Shadow. I mean,
I don't want to know anything about him. I just think he just got.
I had to know what the word meant. I mean, it could have been serial killer. I don't know.
I like calling him the Exterminator. The Exterminator's fine.
I'm sorry.
It's what he does. He exterminates.
Hey, I got 2 more pages of notes, and he's called the Sprayer. We're gonna stick with that, okay?
You stick with that all you want to. Just knowing.
The only problem is his casual thing is I mean, it works for the movie, but I'm sitting here going, at this point, I'm like, I'd be waiting over there by the tree, like, you done putting it on? Okay, now I'm going to kill you with the 5 guns in my truck.
They don't have guns in the Netherlands.
They have guns.
Yeah, but they're wood guns.
They're not wood guns. Okay, so you know what? He could turn around and he just throws a giant wooden clog at his head. Like, oh.
That would be funny if Hans took off one of his wooden shoes and threw it at the guy.
Kids, give me your shoes.
And there we go with Denmark.
They know they wear them.
They have nothing to do with this movie.
I'm not telling them anything.
Denmark has nothing to do with this picture at all. So, but now we just defended them too.
Yeah. If the people of Holland can't get over our criticism, then that's on them.
Look, I took geography in the 5th grade. I know where it is.
I'm just gonna watch some Canadian porn. Goose Lovers, Volume 6.
Watch out for them new oos knuckles, eh?
That was a hell of a spray, eh? Okay. So now the family
he was a real hoser, that one.
Oh, we should call this guy the hoser.
Now I'm on board.
All right, I'll try to adjust. So now Diana's driving. They're all been sprayed or at least inhaled some of the acid from the hoser's hose, and so they find themselves driving. They find themselves driving through the town of 1 million bicyclists. Dude, Diana she nearly kills half of these two-wheeled nuisances. They're driving over lawns, over curbs, through bushes. The hoser's following, 163 shows in hot pursuit. Dude, family picnics, she's plowing through them in their station wagon. The citizens, when they finally, like, the car's so beat up it can barely run, the peaceful people of the Netherlands start beating on the car.
Oh, it's an angry mob.
They want like street justice. So they finally make their way to the police station, which the hoser obviously goes a different way. He doesn't want any of that action. Dude, was it just me or were those Netherlands cop uniforms something else, huh? Oh, man. It's like, first of all, the cop dude had like, I don't know how to describe it, like a 70s, like silver 70s Barry Gibb hairstyle with this sweet stash. But they wear like these neon green kind of skin tight little police shirts.
I like them. I thought they were stylish.
Oh no, they were fashionable. I don't know how many crimes you're going to solve looking like that.
We'll sneak up on the criminals. They're going to see you. No, they won't.
Well, dude, get this. He tells these people his whole story, and they're like, "Well, why don't you call your cell phone if he has it?" And he calls it, and the hoser answers, is like, "This is Hans." And he's like, "What?" And then he hangs up on him. Although he did try. Where are you? The hoser doesn't answer. He's like, actually, I'm northeast. Oh, wait a minute. No, that doesn't work.
You,
Hans. So the police not only fix their flat tire and help them duct tape their car back together. Do you think American cops are going to do that for you?
No. They might.
Netherlands cops. That's where it's at. They give them an escort all the way to Hans's mother's house in their nearly totaled Volvo. And this, man, you guys obviously know that I love this because I've been texting you photos of white vans I see on the road for the last week. As the family drives through this town to grandma's house, they see these white vans everywhere.
It's a very common vehicle.
You can't tell at this point if Hans is semi-hallucinating by how many white vans he sees, but the wife's seeing them and then they'll see a painter step out of it or some workers, but it goes full bonkers. He drives past this parking lot where there's like 50 blank white vans sitting there, and he's like sweating and losing his mind. I've never noticed a white van before in my entire life. I have seen so many. Obviously, I'm texting you guys nonstop, but I'm like, what a fucking smart move. I have to think it was calculated by the filmmakers because every time I see a plain white van now, I think of this movie. It's a call.
That's why it's the go-to. What's the killer in? He's in a white van.
Dude, I get the willies because I know it's a movie, but every time I texted you one that was driving down my street the other day as I was pulling in. It was just a dude in a white van. I'm like,
didn't you text me? You sent some picture and it's like literally like across the street from your house, like right there.
Yes.
But that's the point, is that this is nobody, but it's everywhere.
I'm giving the filmmaker credit for taking advantage of that because something I never noticed in a million years. I'm seeing every day now, and I'm thinking about his movie, man. That's smart.
I mean, think about it, like, FedEx vans are white. I guess the Amazon ones are blue, but yeah, the white van is used for so many things. It's like a ubiquitous landscape feature. I mean, it could be anywhere.
But it's just amazing to me how many have no writing on them. The one parked in front of my house had no identifying things on it. Like, that's
I
crazy.
asked for that when I rented it and drove it from your house. Oh,
but no, it's just crazy. And that's why I don't want to think of him as an exterminator. I want to think of him as a clever serial killer slasher who knows if he drives around in one of these white vans, it's going to be hard to find because there's a million of these fucking things. Because an exterminator would have the name of his bug company on the thing with a big picture of a cockroach or something. I'm glad he didn't have that.
The one from Fletch Lives, Billie Jean King, Bug Busters.
You hear that?
Yeah, little tiny little microscopic parasites there.
Termites, reproduced by masturbation.
Well, I'm glad I asked that question.
Well, meanwhile, while they're going through town, losing their bonkers at all these white vans, are we going with the hoser?
I like the hoser.
Okay.
The hoser works.
The hoser is... if we hadn't talked so much about Canada, it would work a lot better.
To me, that's why it's cracking me up.
Okay. The hoser's already at Grandma's house. Remember, he has Han's phone, so he's checking the last calls and the GPS and whatnot. Therefore, he has all of Hans's contacts. And seeing as how the hoser holds parents responsible for the behavior not only of their children, but their adult children, Granny is in big time trouble. Dude, he lectures this old biddy. She lets him, he says that he found Hans's phone and he'd like to return it. And she's like, oh, okay, give it to me. He's on his way here. And he's like, no, I feel like I should return it. And she's like, well, that's really weird. And then he's like, do you have a water hose? And he pulls up his pant leg and he's got these giant acid burns where the spray got him. These big bubbles of where the acid, oh. And as he's rinsing off his leg, he's asking her, like, so you're Hans's mother. Do you think that the mother should be responsible for their children's behavior? And she's like, of course. And he's like, what about when they're adults? And dude, this is where you know that Hans is an asshole because his mom thinks about that. She's like, well, no, not when they're. No. We're talking about Hans, right? At a certain age, that is on Hans.
But it's also.
Are you talking about my Hans or somebody else's Hans?
But dude, she's very clear. Oh no, that's on the kid. Yeah, it's on the. We can only do so much. As he then is choking out Granny, the hoser asks her if her elderly, dementia-ridden husband. He's upstairs sleeping. The guy has very little memory, or not, he barely recognizes his wife, let alone anybody else. If he received permission to father a child inside of her, because if he got permission, then they're both going down. This he's got some very strict ideas on how things should be and how people should be held responsible for things. He takes the matter of accountability incredibly seriously. Doctor, you do as well.
Except for his own accountability.
Doctor, did you say he's right?
He's a wacko.
Oh, I thought you looked at me. He was like, he was right.
No, he's a Looney Tune.
When they finally arrive at Grandma's, Hans, who now has slid back comfortably into his bad idea jeans, runs out of the car, the rattling car, and tells their police escort, it's fine, get out of here. And the cop looks at him with that Netherland mustache and is like, well, why did we drive here then? And he's like, I don't want my mom to see you. Just get out of here. And he tries to give him like a handshake or a fist bump, and they just don't give it. They don't reciprocate, and they just get the hell out of there.
Because Hans is an asshole.
And I have agreed with Tut on that from the get-go. I thoroughly enjoyed this film. Hans is a dickhole and a stupid oos, and he is the mother. This is just another example of it. You finally you've gone to the cops. They picked your muffler up on the ground, used some baling chicken wire to reconnect it to your car, drive you over to this place, and now it's a kind of there's hedgerows and big house and all that, and they're telling these guys to go ahead and leave. What the fuck?
To his wife, and this is the one time I'm going to give his wife by the way, the actress playing his wife's great. But she's like, where are they going? He's like, I told him to leave. Even she's like, you idiot. Like she's at her wit's end with this dude. I will say this. It says a lot about the actor who's playing Hans. Jeroen Spitzenberger? Maybe?
Probably nowhere near what it means.
It couldn't be Spitzenberger. That can't be right.
It probably is right.
Oh, okay. Well, Jeroen Spitzenberger, it says a lot about the actor that his character literally does all the wrong things, says all the dumb things, but yet, look, I'm not disagreeing with you guys. The guy is an asshole, and something's definitely wrong with him. But I'm still pulling for. I don't want him to get sprayed right now.
I'm pulling for the kids. Like, I don't want anything to happen.
You know what?
And see, that's where it's like it gets you at that point because it implied basically like the killer is going to kill the family. He's like he doesn't care. He's going to kill. I like that. Let
me say that.
In other words, it
Jax, you're right. Let me say that. I'm not pulling for Hans specifically. I'm pulling for him because I think a win for Hans in this scenario is a win for the family. I think that's kind of key to it. So I don't want to see this family get sprayed by the hoser.
Don't want to see him get hosed down, man.
Just because Hans is an asshole doesn't mean he deserves to die. If everyone who is an asshole deserved to die, there'd be about 5 people walking around. So
yeah, there'd be no Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast.
But and that was one of the things, kind of going back to the conversation that the hoser had with the mom. It kind of implied like, oh, so you're, how the kid turned out is your fault. So, and that kind of implied like the kids of Hans are going to be terrible because he thinks Hans. So it's like, for me, it built more tension. Like he's going to kill kids.
Yes. That conversation with the old lady, I had the exact same thing, Yax, where he was talking about he has no qualms about going down the lineage. All right, you're
all the same.
You stuck your dick in her and she had that kid, so you're dead for sticking your dick in her. You gave him permission to stick his dick in you.
Are you the mother of Sarah Connor?
You're dead. And I had the same idea as Yax, though. He's going to kill the kids. This guy doesn't give a shit. And the actor playing the hoser, that kind of
and that's one of the things where I was like, if you showed sort of like a more ideal family, because I thought about this, late, towards the end of the movie, I was like, I wasn't really feeling connected to Hans. Anyways, like this dude's an asshole. Just fucking kill him.
Oh, see, I felt so connected to Hans.
But I was like, is that on purpose? Are we supposed to separate ourselves from Hans? Or what? I was like, because if it was, if you showed more of a, that quote unquote, the caring family man.
Yeah.
Would it drive more tension? Or does it take away less?
I don't think so. I think it was a really interesting choice to make Hans this raging dick because those guys do exist. Some of those guys are creatures of their environment. They're normal dudes who just get pushed by their family members to the point to where they just say and do things that they would never normally do under any circumstance, but they just snap. And they can't take all the pressure on their backs, but they're good dudes. They're good, honest, good, really solid gut men who just can only take so much.
Sounds like somebody's building a case of self-defense.
Did you know that's something, Katie?
No, I actually
you get off your chest there, buddy.
No, I'm teasing. In all seriousness, I liked that they went this way because how many horror movies have we seen? Hills Have Eyes, off the top of my head, where the family get along great. The dads love dad and mom love each other. Kids love mom and dad. And yes, that we've seen it before. And it is sad then when lovable Pops gets killed and all that.
I think that's the beauty of the director and the storytelling is that they have such a flawed character that you end up rooting for.
Also,
and also like put ourselves in that initial traffic situation. How many times have we been the guy tailgating some guy who's blocking traffic?
Yeah, but
I have.
Well,
I know.
It's not like Germany. It's not like it's the Autobahn where if you're going slow in the fast lane, they will literally just. It's not that they'll tailgate you; they'll basically bump you right out of the way.
Well, let me just
say the cop will show up and like arrest you and like, sorry, you slowed down traffic for the nation.
I want to pick up this this aspect of Hans's personality a little bit later because I think something happens towards the end where they really bring it full circle. But and honestly, at this point, when he sends those cops away at his mom's house, I wouldn't have faulted Diana for pushing him in an acid bath. Like she has to have her limits too. I mean,
well, and that's kind of the thing. It's like, so wait a second. So you're telling me that a psychopath has your phone? Yes. And
and
nowadays, do you have like everything on your phone? Yes. And you wouldn't want the cops to come in, like do a quick roll through on your house, perimeter check. I mean, they've got those sweet green uniforms. They need to do something.
Well,
at the very least, is like, look, I know there's at least an automatic rifle in the trunk. Let me borrow it for 5 minutes.
Well, maybe there is. I don't know. The Netherlands seems like such a quaint, quiet, peaceful place up to this point. Beautiful little homes, so many trees.
They've got them.
Did y'all notice, to your point, Yax, did y'all notice when Hans, they get to grandma's house, they go inside grandma's house, they're calling out for grandma. When he was thinking he was doing the smart thing and locking them in, for such a quaint, peaceful little Netherlands town, every door has like 10 deadbolts on it.
Looks like a New York apartment.
Let me get the wood piece to go down in the center here. Like, yeah, boys, is Netherlands, is that where they get attacked by those giant trolls? Is that a thing?
It's, yes, in that area. But remember, they also, a lot of holdover from the days when Vikings pillaged a lot. So, you need a few more locks to keep the pillagers out.
Well, it turns out securing all the doors and windows was, get this, a bad move by Hans. Imagine that. The guy made a bad call because the hoser is already in the house. He's locked up the old folks, put on his full uniform, gas mask, hazmat suit, white rubber boots, and it's officially spraying time. He sprays acid in Hans's face, sending the father tumbling down the stairs as Diana and the girls hide upstairs in the bedroom. Hans manages, as his face is smoking, to escape out of the house as half his face melts off.
No, the hoser. My problem with this is he's like struggling to get out of the house. I'm like, literally, there's these giant bay windows. You could just pick up the the thing, just throw it through. But he's like struggling. How do I get out of this place? And I'm like, well, I understand. You're blinded. But
takes off his wooden shoe and throws it through the window.
I'm just like, there's so many openings. They're just right there.
Well, the hoser chases him around the outside a little bit. It's a neighborhood, but they're very big lots with a lot of wooded area around them. Until Hans eventually eludes him and comes back full circle to the front of the house. He yells up at Diana, who's barricaded herself, the young girls, and his parents in a bedroom. She's hanging out the bedroom window. And she's like, Hans, just go wait at the neighbor's house. The police are on their way. He's like, what? She's like, I barricaded the door. We're all safe in here. He's like, what about me?
It was that. That was
that line.
That was the kicker.
About me? And then does Hans go to the neighbor's house? Fuck no. He starts climbing what is it called? The garden thing on the house. He acts
trellis.
Trellis. he starts climbing this trellis as his face is still smoking. And he gets up to the top window. And this is where Hans's character gets really interesting. Help me. So as his wife's trying to help him up in this bedroom window, and he's like, he's got my leg. And we never see the guy down there getting his leg. But he's like, he's got me. Help me, mommy, mom. So he starts shouting for his 80-year-old mom to help him. So she reaches out and starts pulling him. I thought for sure Hans was going to reach up to get in the window and grab his old ass mom and throw her out on accident. and she was going to meet the hoser down on the ground. But no, Diana and Granny get him up there. She tells Diana, once again, not always choosing the best things to say at the best time, tells Hans he looks like shit, which is the truth. But again, Diana, these comments don't, they're not helping. God, you look like shit. So when they drag him upstairs to the window, he crumples to the floor, and they all just stand there, including his dementia-ridden dad. They circle around him on the floor of this bedroom and just stare at him. This pathetic pile of Hans, speechless as he's whimpering and crying on the ground.
Tub of crap.
You tub of crap. His mother starts a shower. She's like, you need to clean your acid wounds. And he's like, I'm not taking a shower. Dude, Hans has the minute the shit hit the fan, he is a little boy. What about me? Mom, help me. I'm not taking a shower. He is a man-child by definition. Dude, you got acid all over your body. Get in the shower. I don't want to take a shower. I deal with that shit every night with my kids. Hey, you had a t-ball game in the rain tonight. You're completely covered in shit. Get in the shower. I'm not taking a shower. That's Hans. He's just this obstinate little boy. And his wife, and then here's where it gets worse. His mom grabs him by the ear, tears off his clothes, and we get to see his mom rinse off the naked Hans while his wife and kids stand in the bathroom door just looking at him like.
I'm just going to laugh because there's going to be a conversation. Oh, you smell like shit. You've been smoking cigars all night. Get in the shower. I'm not taking a shower.
Yeah, I didn't say I was better than Hans. I just wear more.
I was talking about me.
Oh. Wear more comfortable shoes. But no, that scene where his mommy is hosing him down the shower naked, and his wife and kids, which by the way, Diana, maybe take the kids to somewhere. They're just standing there just like Dick Buckus. You tub of crap. They're just watching their father with no respect as his mommy poses him down and he's crying. I mean, we've all been there, right? That's pretty much exact situation. No, I'm just kidding. Mama hasn't hosed me down for years, months. I don't know. There was something about that old lady showering her naked ass grown son while his kids watched on, not in horror or concern, but just like,
yeah, my part was the what about me. I was just like, dude, now I kind of want Hoser to get you.
Yeah, that what about me really changed my rooting. There's always a chance Hans is going to come out of this end a better man, and because all those horror movies where a guy goes through incredible circumstances and then at the end he's like a better guy for it and treats his loved ones better. We've seen that in a million horror movies. But no, not Hans just keeps getting worse. We then cut to exterior of the house a short time later. The police are now there, and Hans is being hauled away in an ambulance. An officer puts the two young girls in a white van and tells them to wait there while she goes and gets their mom, Diana. But as soon as she walks away, the van door swings open and the hoser leans inside. He removes his gas mask and tells the girls that they didn't ask for this. It was their mother and father's fault. And then he puts his mask back on and disappears in the nearby woods like any good slasher would. Just like Jason, he just disappears into the woods. Cut to a significant amount of time later, long enough that Hans's facial burns have healed. He looks pretty normal. A softer, gentler Hans kisses Diana as she leaves for work, and then he walks the girls to school despite their objections. They're too old for this. He's embarrassing them by, holding their hands and walking them through the town.
Well, maybe Hans has some growth after all.
Maybe he grew up. Maybe he's watching over his family. Maybe his wife a little more tenderly. After dropping him off at school, Hans is leisurely strolling home through the quiet downtown square when we see in the background the white van. I mean, far background. Like he's in focus. But sure enough, at this point, you notice that white van drive by in the background, stop. It's crowded. People are walking, cars. It backs up, and then it starts coming behind him. It starts driving up the street behind Hans as he's walking along, mind his own business. Then we see it jump the curb and start driving on the sidewalk towards Hans as a thudding bass drum starts pounding along. Cut to black. We hear a splat. And then as the credits roll, we hear the van door slide open and the sound of the hoser pumping up his spray tank once again. The end, but I certainly hope not. I would be totally in for another round of the hoser and all his shenanigans. Let me just say this real quick, and then I'll get you guys' thoughts. When this was over, and I don't know if maybe I made the connection because they're both foreign films, one being French and then this one from the Netherlands, obviously, and that I both like them a lot. But I was ecstatic, Doctor, that the filmmaker didn't pull a high tension here to where it was revealed in the final act that Hans was the killer all along. High Tension was such a fantastic movie. Very similar to this, very tense moments, very edge of your seat, just really rooting for people at the same time, just almost unbearable tension, high tension, if you will. But then in the final act, they decided to make the terrifying killer a figment of another character's imagination who was really doing the killing. And it fucking ruined everything. They had established a really good slasher like this. It was a creepy looking old guy with the jumpsuit and a little red hat. And if they had just stuck with that, there you go. I'm not saying Jason Michael level, but man, this movie they totally screwed the audience by making it a thing of someone. And I was just so glad that they didn't do some artsy European bullshit with this and be like, actually, that was Hans. He somewhere along that drive, Diana said the wrong thing and he snapped. And he's been chasing them all along. And then we see flashbacks of Diana driving the car with Hans in a white van. I'm just saying that's what High Tension did. And it ruined a really good horror movie. And I just thought, thank God that, they didn't do that here. Yes, Doctor.
Did you think they were going to? Because I actually thought for a second they were going to, when he starts climbing the trellis and they're saying, Hans, go to the neighbors. It's interesting that you mentioned it because I thought, are they about to pull a High Tension and somehow make that whole thing? I thought they might be about to do it.
I thought they were going to just go back and show, like, when we saw Hans trying to push the car out of the mud, it was going to be like that passerby that stopped and asked if they need help, that it would be him trying to push their car out of the mud, and then Hans would spray him. And then every single step along the way that we'd see it, there was actually Hans going crazy and doing all this stuff to where it was almost like a Shining, like the dad fucking snapped. And I didn't think,
you thought they were going to do it.
I didn't think until the movie was over and they didn't do it. It didn't dawn on me. It just dawned on me. Thank God they didn't do that. I never thought during the movie that they were going to do it.
Okay. No, it's cool that you reference that because I haven't seen that movie in forever. And I actually, when she sang to him, eerily calmly, I thought, we're okay, go to the neighbors. I was like, are they about to pull a high tension and do that? I'm glad they didn't. I would not have liked that either. But
Did that ruin High Tension for you as well?
It didn't ruin it.
It kept me from watching it again.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of those things where it's kind of like yeah, I don't think I've seen it again either. When you know it's a huge twist, and
it's a sixth
sense.
Sense.
It's kind of like the Sixth Sense.
Once you know
the twist, you know,
huge, very well done movie, but not one you could ever revisit, knowing what you know.
That's a good analogy. Yeah.
I'm going to assume, based on the conversation, that you boys all enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, I really did. I remember texting you. I was like, "This is kind of a tough movie to watch because it actually." And I'm such a cynical son of a bitch who's seen everything. It got me invested in these characters, and I'm not a horror slasher guy. I mean, this was not something I have to be in the right mood or just be forced to watch some of these things. And man, I walked away that I love the killer. I love the fact that he wasn't, some deformed main, psychopath. He was an old grandpa looking dude. You just pissed off the wrong guy. To me, that was the whole premise of the movie. And I don't want this guy to be just some weird guy that runs around with toxins in his deal. I like the fact that you just pissed off the wrong guy, and you never know who that guy is going to be. And it doesn't, and you could be looking at the guy, and the guy looks just like a grandpa in a sweater vest, and he's about to kill you. I just liked everything about it. I like the fact that Hans was a dick, but they still did enough story wise to make me vested. Not maybe in Hans, but like in the kids. Like the grandparents had nothing to do with this shit, and I didn't want them to. The dad, I mean, God, the dad doesn't even know where he is. And I'm like, dude, don't kill the dad, don't kill the grandma. But they made me care about it, and that to me, that's high praise as a cynical bastard.
Sure, and you totally believe that the kids and the grandparents were fair game.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't remember if they did do a sequel. I don't know if I need to know why this guy takes traffic rules so strictly. There is something in him that really, really gets upset when people break the rules of the road. God knows what that bicyclist did in the opening scene. I mean, I guess he didn't signal or something.
He didn't put his arm up.
He didn't put his arm up or something.
Or maybe he was blocking traffic, and Hans was just like, "You should be over in your bicycle lane now."
Designated lane, huh? Yeah. I just thought they cast.
I thought they were speaking German for the longest.
Well, there's a lot of, and I was like, yeah. But yeah,
Snell. I could have sworn they said that a couple of times.
Yeah, because I know you're drunk all the time when you're in Europe, but Netherlands is just a hop, skip, and a jump from Germany, right?
It is.
Okay. So
I said, the distances there are not.
It's 2 hours away.
You can get anywhere in about 2-3 hours. You're literally anywhere.
It's from here to Houston.
Yeah, but I mean, Louisiana is right next door to Texas, and they sound totally weird and crazy compared to us.
I don't know what you're talking about, huh?
Leave Bobby Hebert out of this. That guy is a saint.
Hey, no arguments there. Okay.
I liked it. I thought it was, to me, it was original. I hadn't seen anything like it, and I liked it. I really did. I thought it was smartly written, and I love the hell out of smartly written stuff.
Well, I thought it was smartly written. I thought it was really well acted, really well executed cinematography.
Oh, and I'm sorry to interrupt, but kudos on the actor playing Hans, because, like you said, he made all the dumb decisions. He made all the dumb he said the exact wrong answers. He did the exact wrong things. Most of the time in movies, I hate these characters.
Yeah, but you know what?
I want them to get killed, but he actually got me enough to where I was like, no, I'm still.
You know why though? I think like there's the scene like when they're behind in traffic and they're behind the van. He has this really kind of funny, warm scene with his daughters, where he's like, all right, girls, tell me why the car in front of us is going so slow. Because they've done this before. And the girls are like, it's a woman on her cell phone. And he's like, there you go. Or it's an old lady who shouldn't be driving. There you go. He does have these kind of warm connections with his fan. He's not full Hans all the time.
He's not a bad guy.
Yeah.
No, he's just having a bad day.
Yeah, he's not a bad person. He's just tense on this particular day and makes multiple bad decisions. But you can tell he loves his family. Pain in the asses they might be from time to time.
Well, I'll just say this.
Well, it's kind of a saying. If he's such a raging D-bag, I was like, apparently he's charming enough to convince a woman to marry him, have 2 kids, and do all these things. And
well, we don't know what the single scene is over there in the Netherlands. Like Hans could be the cream of the crop for all we know. Like, I will say this though, if I ever find myself, and I may regret these words after my upcoming vacation, if I ever find myself in a shower naked with my elderly mother spraying me down while my wife and 2 daughters watch me from the doorway, I'm just telling you guys right now, I can't go back from that. I'm gonna leave. I'm going to start a new life somewhere else. Like my family will never see me.
I get the feeling is somewhere out on the other side of Tennessee, you're going to be like on the road, and there's going to be a white van right in front of you, and everyone's going to be like, just pass him.
I'm going to see a bunch of them on these country road trips. I'm just saying.
You're going to be like, no, it's not going to happen.
I'm just saying, I can just see 10 years from now when these girls are teenagers, and he's like, "Hey, I want you home by 10 o'clock. No funny business. That's curfew." It's like, all right, whatever, Dad. Why should we take you seriously? He's like, what are you talking about? You respect me. And she's like, Grandma, shower. Like, Jesus.
Kate, I'm going to help you out with that decision making. If that happens, we don't want you back here either. Go start that life someplace else.
I was going to come live with you.
Why is it that every time you think your life's going to shit, your answer is move in with me? That's always like, well, I've got no reason to live anymore. I'm going to go move in with a doctor. I got kind of a good thing going here, pal. Well, Jenny's left me. I'm not going to be a dad and a husband anymore. My life's just a total piece of shit. It's time for me to go live with a doctor. That's always your solution.
Other than a few changes, you wouldn't even know I'm there. We're going to have to get rid of your sofa, put a futon in.
Then I'd fucking know you were here.
Oh,
in misery, waiting to slip my wrist. That's guys, Yaks, Tut. It's like for years is Kate's solution. When everything goes, he's like, you're not planning on it, not when. If circumstances conspire against Cade to make his life just go to upheaval, his whole plan is, I'll just take my miserable ass and move in with a doctor.
Hey, I am going to need some Labatt Wildcat in the fridge at all times.
And I got that here.
That's what he's been drinking all night.
Oh, yeah, poured it into these St. Arnold's cans, just like you and I did when we were teenagers.
See,
you know what? You're welcome here.
It'll be just like the old days. We'll play Super Nintendo, drink Labatt Wildcat. Hey, does Pizza Hut still have that stuffed crust pizza?
Well, Frank, it looks like the tailgater has just tailed his last gate.
Yeah.
New boss, same as the old boss.
Boys, this was fun. I think I picked the right movie. I wanted to pick something scary and that wasn't taking the spooky season lightly. And I thought this was the best chance I had to. Yeah, we've all seen everything, so that anytime a movie can make a guy like me sit on the edge of my seat, I figure it's got a good shot with you guys. So fucking A, man. I'm glad you guys liked it.
Yeah, I really did.
Tut, you got some beautiful, juicy links in your vernacular to share with the folks?
Go to TuesdayNightCigarClub.com, yeah. Visit us on. No, go to TuesdayNightCigarClub.com. Obviously, you can hit us up on Facebook, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. There, please subscribe to us and like us on YouTube, Tuesday Night Cigar Club. I mean, we're all over the place, all over on the socials, minding our p's and q's. So don't hose us down, hosers. And Canada, I'm sorry. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
For me going there?
Well, for me, I mean,
we're so sorry we sent you back.
Hey, Tut, what if folks want to order some Brickhouse cigars? Where should they go and how should they do that?
Man, if you want to order some of the delicious Brickhouse cigars that you saw tonight, then you go to the TuesdayNightCigarClub.com and you click on that little banner that we got there, and it's going to take you right to where it's the wheelhouse of picks. Click on it, it'll go right to the site. You can buy it.
It's FamousSmokeShop.com is the shop.
Oops. I totally meant to say FamousSmokeShop.com. Mincy, can I come live with you? I mean,
God damn it! Why does everybody want to live with me when their lives fall apart? Jesus.
And once you're at FamousSmokeShop.com, throw some Brickhouse cigars in your cart, and if you get up to $100, enter promo code TNCC20. And that takes $20 off your order of 100 or more. That's 20%, Tud.
You know, the bad thing about that is, and this time I'm using bad as, the kids do, and it means good. I don't know if you guys are up with that lingo. But the bad thing is that you don't even have to enter TNCC20. It automatically does it for you.
Oh, yeah. But if you find yourself at FamousSmokeShop.com and you didn't get there through the TNCC site, if you just wake up one day and your web browser is on Famous Smoke Shop, you can use TNCC20.
Or if you find yourself on Mincy's futon, Cade futon in Mincy's house, and your life's gone to shit, and you decided to crash with the doctor, I mean, bring up your little iPad or take the doctor's iPad, enter the promo code there. You'll have a good time.
God, just once I'd like.
I get the feeling like next time we do this, there's going to be a whole new backdrop behind the doctor because he moved and he's not going to tell us where he went.
That's
or you're going to see a bunch of deadbeats over here, Yaks, and I'm going to be hanging from a noose.
Just once I'd like to wake up and my web browser is on Famous Smoke Shop instead of something else.
Oh, you woke up one morning and it was on Famous Smoke Shop, all right. It didn't have nothing to do with no cigars.
All right. Well, folks, thanks for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the show. If you do want to watch a really cool movie during the Halloween holidays, check out Tailgate. I really wanted to do Trick or Treat with Skippy from Family Ties, as I said, but it's hopefully next year. Next year might be our last. I got to come up with something else in March to Halloween since we don't really go anywhere. It's here and then it's gone. Our Halloween spectacular. Hopefully we'll get to do that next year because I don't want to call it quits on this beautiful thing that we've built here over the last 9 years without. It's one of my favorite, not just horror movies, one of my favorite movies ever. So I got to get it in there. But yeah. I imagine you'll probably hear from us as far as the podcast goes, maybe around Thanksgiving. Does that sound good, boys?
Yeah.
Sounds good indeed.
We usually do a really good show around Thanksgiving and then probably do another one before the end of the year. And that's it. You know what? We kind of got a looser leash these days, which is nice. We kind of just can do shows when we want to, and it certainly is liberating to a certain extent, and it's there's no doubt about it. We're just here to drink and have fun, and I hope that shows. What were you gonna say, Ted?
Oh no, I was just
agreeing with me.
Yeah.
That was a very enthusiastic. Okay,
yeah. Just drink and have fun.
We like to drink and have fun. As Tut used to always say, just party. Everything can be solved in life if you just, God damn it, just party. Well, folks, in the meantime, have a wonderful Halloween. And may the wings of liberty never lose a feather. Sign our motherfuckers.
For America. Hamburgers for America.
Rest in peace, Dick Butkus.
Pickles and onions.
Pickles and onions. Adios.
To learn more about the time I innocently went trick-or-treating and was subsequently the target of a massive police manhunt, please read Chapter 17 in my riveting autobiography titled, Put the Candy in My Bag or I'll Take a Steaming Dump on Your Doorstep. Chapter title pretty much says it all. Pretty sweet, huh? I've never been a big fan of subtext or innuendo for that matter. Keith just lays the old cloth yard shaft out there for you. You do with it what you will. So you see, some old hag answered her door, refused to give me any candy, so I delivered the trick that I had promised. I dropped the tan pants on my Eric Estrada Chips costume, and I squeezed out a very, let's say spirally reminder to never mess around with Keith A. Howell. Granted, I was 43 years old at the time, but, it's the principle of the matter. And I suppose you don't really need to read Chapter 17 after all, as, I just told you what happened. God damn it. My book sales are almost as low as Officer Frank Poncherello's trousers. Yeah, that's right. I'm wearing them right now, so don't go crossing me and send me all your Kit Kat bars, left and right sides. Or else. Happy Halloween, everybody. Oh yeah, one last thing. To learn more about the cigars enjoyed on tonight's episode, please visit jcnewman.com. For more on O'Brien's Irish Pub, the live music leader in Central Texas, please visit o'brienstemple.com and download their free smartphone app, where you'll find full beer listings including over 40 on tap, menu information, and a calendar of upcoming live events. To listen and purchase music heard on tonight's program, check out www.fritzbeermusic.com. Thank you for listening to the Tuesday Night Cigar Club podcast. This is Keith A. Howell saying until next time, friends, unless we see you sooner at the pub. So keep it smoky, and for God's sake, keep it ballsy as well.
Well, let me tell you, the show is over, folks, all right? The party is starting right now.